Chapter 1. Where is the promised leisure travel? Lo and I quit. A young man slammed his work badge down, pointing furiously at the virtual screen. This is not a game. There are no long legs, no pay-to-win card draws, no gratifying feedback. Why must you insist on this historical immersion experience? Who the hell cares about history these days? Players just want to be the overlords in a virtual world. The slender Lowen sat in his swivel chair, a hint of resignation in his smile. Ajay, please calm down. This is not merely a game, it is art. Art my foot. Can art pay the bills? I haven't even paid rent for 3 months. Ajay grabbed his backpack and stormed out. You can hug your art and starve. You lunatic. The door shuddered and dust cascaded down. Lowen picked up his phone and glanced at his bank balance, letting out a self-deprecating sigh. 250, quite fitting. 3 months ago, he traversed into this parallel universe known as Blue Star. Here, technology was advanced, with VR neural connection technology capable of an astonishing 99 sensory simulation, akin to the elusive matrix of his original world. Yet, this realm had never experienced the Red Patriotic War, leaving its cultural entertainment in a desolate state. The games were mere reskins, cash grabs, and mindless tropes. People were spiritually barren, driven solely by profit, with sacrifice absent from their lexicon, replaced only by benefit. Lowen yearned to instigate change, but nearly starved in the process. Detected that the host is in a dire situation and possesses a disruptive spirit. The Civilization Flame game development system has been activated. Lowen blinked in surprise, confirming he was not hallucinating, his delight bubbling forth. So he did possess a golden finger. Although 3 months late, better late than never. Beginner's gift pack has been issued. LV1 civilian-grade physics engine. Dungeon material package Red Expedition Poverty Edition. Emotional collection module. Lowen gazed at the system panel, displaying the folder titled Red Expedition. One of the greatest miracles of his original World: The Long March of 25,000 Li. However, in this Poverty Edition, with only snow-capped mountains and grassy plains as materials, there were no grand battle scenes, only extreme cold, hunger, and despair. So to provide them with a slight spiritual shock in this entertainment-saturated era, Lowen couldn't help but recall the joyous moments for players, opening the editor and letting his fingers dance across the keyboard. 3 hours later, a promotional video titled Healing Journey. The Oath Beneath the Snowy Mountains was uploaded to the largest gaming platform, Tomato Network. The screen opened with an ethereal piano melody flowed gently. The snow-capped mountains reflected a sacred golden light under the sun, while an endless prairie blossomed with unknown wildflowers. By the campfire, a group of ragged individuals sat together, their faces radiating warmth and simplicity. Though their features were obscured, the atmosphere was so heartwarming it brought tears to one's eyes. The text appeared. Life too exhausting? Why not embark on a spontaneous journey? No entry barrier, no purchases, pure healing VR experience. Here, rediscover your lost self. Tags, scenery simulation, healing leisure retirement game. Click publish. At the same time, the immensely popular streamer Brother Kwong on Tomato Live was mindlessly scrolling through the new game list. Brothers, all the game developers these days are feeding us trash. Either it's greasy sister or a one-hit kill. Can't we have something innovative? Brother Kwong, with his striking yellow hair, spat into the microphone. The chat erupted in lively banter. Brother Kwong, try the newly released Interstellar Warframe 18. Don't go, that's a cash grab. Suddenly, Brother Kwong's mouse hovered over a game with an exceptionally fresh cover. Healing Journey? Only 233 G in size? Developer Lowen Studio? Brother Kwong scoffed. Looks like it's made by some shabby workshop, a walking simulator, and they think they can trick people into downloading it? With a glint of mischief in his eyes, Brother Kwong decided, brothers, today we're going to expose this scam. Such garbage games masquerading under the healing banner. He'll roast every single one. I want the designer to know what the real world is like. Brother Kwong clicked download, donning his 6-figure premium VR headset. 2 minutes. If it doesn't thrill me in these 2 minutes, he'll have the designer retreat from the internet. Light and shadow danced, senses reconfigured. When Brother Kwong opened his eyes again, the mockery he had prepared was stuck in his throat. Wholly before him lay an expanse of white, purely blinding, an infinite stretch of white. The howling cold wind scraped against his eardrums, the soft snow beneath his feet varied in depth, each step producing a satisfying crunch that felt incredibly real. This light and shadow, these particle effects, this physical interaction, Brother Kwong extended his hand, catching a falling snowflake. The flake melted in his palm. The slight chill and dampness coursing through his nerves felt startlingly authentic. The chat exploded with questions. Is this quality achievable in a 233G game? Is this actual live-action footage? This is absurd. Honestly, the scenery is indeed healing. The designer has some talent. Snapping back to reality, Brother Kwong coughed twice to conceal his embarrassment. Ahem, just because the visuals are good doesn't mean the game is fun. A walking simulator is merely for sightseeing. He surveyed his surroundings and noticed a dozen people standing nearby. These individuals looked as though they had crawled out from a garbage heap. Worn, thin gray military uniforms, some even wrapped in sheepskin, their feet bound with grass ropes, faces waxy pale, lips cracked and purple. A system prompt appeared faintly in the lower left corner of Brother Kwong's vision. Identity, new recruit, current task. Follow the team, scale the Jiajin Mountain. Status, healthy temporarily. Is this what NPCs look like? The modeling is quite detailed, but these clothes are too ugly, it dampens my mood. Brother Kwong grimaced and approached a middle-aged man with one arm, who was carrying an iron pot. This must be a leader-type character. The one-armed man turned, his face weathered, his gaze cloudy, yet imbued with an indescribable resilience. Spotting the new recruit, Brother Kwong, he broke into a smile, revealing a set of broken yellow teeth. Kid, what are you dawdling for? Before the wind picks up, hurry and eat something. The one-armed man carefully retrieved a dark, hard object from his clothing and handed it to Brother Kwong. Frowning, Brother Kwong accepted it, and the system displayed. Barley dough mixed with sand, low quality. Is this even edible? Brother Kwong instinctively tossed the black lump into the snow, his face filled with disdain. I don't eat trash. Do you have any roasted chicken? Or even some red wine would do. This is a healing game. Shouldn't we have a picnic? The air fell silent. The one-armed man's smile froze on his face. The surrounding beggars, who had been adjusting their leg bindings, halted their movements, their eyes fixated on the black lump in the snow. Their gazes were not filled with anger, but with a heart-wrenching pity that sent shivers down Brother Kwong's spine. Chapter 2. An unprecedented experience. The one-armed man silently crouched down, picking up the black lump with his remaining hand. He brushed off the snow and carefully tucked it back into his clothing against his body. If you want to eat it, then so be it, the one-armed man sighed, his tone disturbingly calm. When there's nothing left to eat later, this thing could save your life. Kong Ge let out a cold snort. What kind of tricks are these? Do I have to endure this while playing a game? Do you believe I will file a complaint? Before he could finish his sentence, the previously clear sky was suddenly engulfed by dark clouds, and a fierce wind descended from the mountaintop. Warning, extreme weather blizzard has been triggered. Environmental temperature plummeting. Please take measures to keep warm. Please take measures to keep warm. Whoosh! Kong Ge felt as though he had been stripped bare and thrown into a vat of liquid nitrogen, the cold slicing through him like a knife. His VR sensory suit was set to a constant temperature, yet the game's neural signals forcefully breached his psychological defenses. Kong Ge's teeth began to chatter uncontrollably, and his limbs turned rigid. What the hell are these parameters? He trembled, wrapping his arms tightly around himself. The arrogance he had just displayed extinguished in an instant. What happened to the pain suppression system? I set it to 10, didn't I? The health bar in the lower right corner of his vision began to drop at a visible pace, accompanied by negative status icons indicating hypothermia and frostbite. Move! Don't stop! The one-armed man shouted, his voice fragmented by the wind and snow. He seized Kong Ge's arm, dragging him forward like a vice. Keep moving. Stopping means death. Just as Kong Ge attempted to struggle, he realized he lacked even the strength to lift his legs. The beggars he had once derided now stood resolutely against the wind, inching forward like silent monuments, despite the gale strong enough to uproot cattle and sheep. The audience in the live stream watched in stunned silence. I came to enjoy the scenery. Why does it feel like the streamer is about to die? Is this really a healing game? This feels more like a survival game. Kong Ge's face is turning blue. Is the game's sensory experience this realistic? At that moment, Kong Ge's mind was consumed by a single thought. Damn it. A fraud. The designer named Luo and was a colossal fraud. Heel of my foot. This was nothing short of execution. I'm done. I want to exit. Kong Ge attempted to bring up the system menu. Alert. Player detected in near-death will state. Forcibly exiting will result in a deduction of credit points and be classified as a deserter. Confirm? The words deserter glared at him in bright red. Kong Ge, being a person of strong will, felt a surge of rebelliousness ignited by those words. I have never been a deserter in my life. Is it just climbing a mountain? I refuse to believe I can't make it. Gritting his teeth, Kong Ge dragged his leaden legs forward, stumbling through the blizzard. Yet the wind and snow cut like blades, each gust a slash to his throat. His newly ignited iron will was cruelly dismantled. He lost track of how long he had been walking. 10 minutes or 10 hours. Within the accelerated time flow of his neural connection, the agony stretched infinitely. Kong Ge's vision began to blur. His lungs felt as if they were ablaze, each breath laced with a metallic taste of blood. His legs had long lost all sensation, entirely dependent on the one-armed man known as Old Squad Leader to drag him forward. New recruit. Hold on. The old squad leader's voice grew weaker, yet his grip remained ironclad. The number of people in the group dwindled. A young soldier carrying a cooking pot suddenly collapsed mid-stride and never rose again. No one cried. No one stopped. They merely offered a silent salute as they passed by and continued onward. For to stop meant to die together. The barrage of comments in the live stream shifted from initial mockery and shock to an eerie silence. Everyone was stunned by an oppressive stillness they had never before encountered, a suffocating sensation from deep within their souls. Finally, they reached the most treacherous stretch near the summit, where the wind and snow were at their fiercest. Konga slipped and fell into a deep snow pit. The sudden feeling of weightlessness made him despairingly close his eyes. It was over. This game was about to end. Just then, a frail hand suddenly grasped his collar. It was a younger NPC from the group, whom everyone called Little Tiger. Looking no older than 16 or 17, his cheeks were always flushed with a healthy glow. Hold on. Though small, Little Tiger possessed astonishing strength. He braced himself against the snowy slope, pulling Kongu up with all his might. But the snow beneath him crumbled due to the pressure. Little Tiger, the old squad leader, screamed in anguish, while Kongu helplessly watched as half of Little Tiger's body sank into a crevice of ice. Don't come over, Little Tiger shouted, halting the old squad leader and Kongu in their tracks. This is an ice pit. The layer above is unstable. If you come over, you'll fall too. Pass me the gun. Kongu urgently reached for the old rifle strapped to his back. There's no time, Little Tiger chuckled grimly, his body sliding downward rapidly. The crevice was unfathomably deep, leading to an abyss. Kongu froze. It's just a game, right? Does it really matter this much? If you let go of me, he can come up, right? A thought flickered through Kongji's mind. But after that last pull, Little Tiger had exhausted all his strength. Looking at Kongu, Little Tiger's youthful eyes now held a calmness that belied his years. You're new and haven't fought yet. In the future, make sure to kill a few more enemies for me. Little Tiger suddenly released his grip on the ice ridge, pulling out something from his pocket and throwing it with all his might towards Kongu. It was a small black lump, warmed by his body heat. It was the half piece of barley cake Kongu had discarded at the foot of the mountain, which the old squad leader had picked up. Catch it. Don't starve. The boy's voice was abruptly cut off by the howling wind and snow. His frail form was instantly swallowed by the white abyss, leaving no echo behind. Thud! The black lump landed in the snow before Kongu, rolling twice before coming to rest beside his frostbitten hands. Kongu stood frozen in place. He was a hardcore gamer, having played through numerous AAA titles. With NPCs, he had slain, circling the globe thrice. He believed his heart was as hard as stone. But at this moment, as he stared at the black lump, his heart suddenly ached painfully, making him feel nauseous. Was he a fool to sacrifice his life for a worthless newbie? Move! The old squad leader, with tears in his eyes, yanked the dazed Kongu and roared. Don't let Little Tiger die in vain. Climb over this mountain. Get over it. Like a marionette, Kongu was dragged over the summit. As the wind and snow subsided and sunlight once again graced his face, he turned to glance back. The vast, snowy mountains had consumed everything, leaving nothing behind. Dungeon settlement. Failure rating. You survived, but your soul remains on the snow-capped mountain. The screen went dark, and Kongu was ejected from the game. In a live stream, Kongu removed his VR headset. His face was drenched in tears, snot running down, utterly devoid of dignity. The chat, usually filled with laughter, was now flooded with crying emojis. I can't believe that, designer. Is this what you call healing? Wow, Little Tiger. My Little Tiger. Eat that ration. Kongu, you bastard. Why didn't you eat it? Kongu wiped his face, his eyes red, and like a madman, put the headset back on. I refuse to accept this. I will return. This time, I will not let Little Tiger die. Even if it costs my life, I will bring him out of the snow-capped mountain. Chapter 3. No choice but to endure. In the streaming room, the fingers of Brother Kwong danced in the air. Although the audience could not discern his actions, the sudden, maniacal grin plastered across his face spoke volumes. Brothers, I have had an epiphany, Brother Kwong declared, adjusting the comfort of his headset while addressing the microphone. Though this wretched game is hardcore, at its core, it is merely code. And where there is code, there exist vulnerabilities. The barrage of comments surged wildly. Is Brother Kwong back at it again? Who was it that cried like a 200-pound child just moments ago? What vulnerabilities could this game possibly have? Unless you're cheating. Cheetahs? I scorn such things, Brother Kwong scoffed. In survival games like this, the developers, in a bid to prevent refunds due to excessive difficulty, always leave a backdoor in the marketplace. For instance, is it too much to ask for a down jacket in exchange for a mere 648? I was just terrified by the cold. That chill felt as if ice water were being poured into the crevices of my bones. But as long as there is a way to spend money, this game is nothing but a pushover. Brother Kwong inhaled deeply, silently reciting in his mind. System Marketplace, activate. Before him, a pale blue screen unfolded. Brother Kwong's fingers were poised to enter his payment password. Yet, in the next moment, his smile froze in place. System Marketplace, current instance, Crimson Expedition, Snowy Mountain, supply status, completely blocked. Purchasable items, none. Notice, you are surrounded by numerous threats, and no supply lines can reach you. All resources must be measured by your own feet, seized by your hands, and fought for with your will. Current balance, 0. Even if you possess countless riches, you cannot buy a single bun here. Brother Kwong repressed a string of curses that threatened to escape his lips. With millions of eyes in the live stream upon him, he could not afford to falter again. Very well, you lofty old thief, you think you're so formidable. His teeth clenched as he resolutely clicked the restart button. You want to let me buy, huh? Then I shall rely on my skills. I refuse to believe this snowy mountain lacks any bugs. The cold winds howled as he opened his eyes once more, returning to the foot of the mountain. The one-armed squad leader stood there, offering him a lump of barley dough mixed with sand. This time, Brother Kwong did not waste words. He seized the dark mass and stuffed it into the pocket closest to his skin without waiting for the squad leader to speak. His swift action left the NPC squad leader momentarily stunned. Move. Brother Kwong bellowed, no longer allowing himself to be dragged like last time. He had learned his lesson. He would not traverse the center of the group. As a seasoned open-world player, Brother Kwong understood a golden rule. In linear maps like this, designers typically place the strongest obstacles along the main route. However, along the edges of the map, there are often windless zones or dead corners left to conserve modeling resources. As long as he stuck to the rocky edges on the leeward side of the ridge, he could bypass a significant portion of the blizzard's impact. Follow me. Brother Kwong shouted to the NPCs behind him. This path is a dead end, but I know there's a sheltered hollow ahead. The NPC soldiers exchanged glances, uncertain. Little Tiger scratched his head, glancing at the class monitor. Monitor, has he frozen into a stupor? That place is a sheer cliff. You know nothing. It's the divine realm for exploiting bugs. Brother Mad, undeterred, relied on his status as a player, believing that even if he perished, he could respawn. He broke away from the main group and charged towards a sheltered rock face on the left. Indeed, upon entering the shadow of the cliff, the biting winds lessened significantly. Brother Mad was overjoyed. See, my brothers, this is an understanding of the game. What nonsense about willpower, as long as you find the right path. This is merely an ordinary mountain climbing simulator. He scrambled over the rocky terrain with surprising speed, even leaving the main group behind. If he could just scale this large boulder, he would circumvent the most treacherous wind tunnel halfway up the mountain. Grasping a protruding rock, he exerted a forceful push. Crack! A faint, crisp sound echoed as the ice layer fractured, and the solid ground beneath him vanished in an instant. The seemingly sturdy rock revealed a gaping void beneath it. Only a thin layer of ice crust concealed the vast abyss below. Oh no! Brother Mad felt weightless, his body uncontrollably sliding downwards. Below lay a thick, white mist, obscuring any view of the depths. This was the so-called bug point, devoid of protective air walls. It was merely a genuine, nature-made trap capable of devouring everything. In that critical moment, a rough hand shot out, firmly gripping his ankle. Hold on. A thunderous voice boomed above him. Startled, Brother Mad looked up to see the class monitor leaning dangerously over the cliff's edge. The one-armed man, veins bulging, clutched him tightly, his face turning a deep shade of purple. Behind the monitor, Little Tiger and two other warriors clung desperately to his waist and legs, resembling a precarious string of candied hawthorns teetering at the edge. Pull him up, the monitor managed to utter through gritted teeth. Together, they strained with all their might, yanking Brother Mad back from the brink of death. Collapsing onto the snow, he gasped for air, cold sweat instantly crystallizing into icy shards, stinging his skin. He stared into the unfathomable abyss, his calves cramping in fear. This time, he truly felt terror. The sensation of falling in VR was all too real. The heart-stopping feeling leaving his fingers trembling. Smack! A resounding slap struck Brother Mad's face. He was stunned. Had he just been struck by an NPC? Covering his face, he lifted his gaze to the class monitor. This man, who had always been gentle, even humbly offering his rations, now burned with fury in his eyes. The monitor pointed toward the cliff, his trembling finger a testament to his rage. Wanting to die is your own affair. Don't drag everyone else down with you. The monitor roared, spittle flying onto Brother Mad's face, instantly freezing into icy droplets. Who told you that path was safe? It's a dead end. A passage to the underworld. Brother Mad opened his mouth to defend himself, to explain that this was merely gaming experience, but found his throat dry, rendering him voiceless. As a player struck by an NPC, he would have retaliated in the past, yet now, Brother Mad found himself unable to muster any anger. The old squad leader seized Crazy Brother by the collar, lifting him from the ground and compelling him to gaze upon the main road engulfed in a tempest of snow. The wind howled fiercely, and the snow fell heavily, exacting a tremendous toll with each step taken. Yet, it was the only path forward. Listen closely, you fool. The old squad leader rasped, his voice imbued with a weight that pierced through the blizzard. On this snow-capped mountain, there are no shortcuts. No clever tricks will enable you to pass through comfortably. If you wish to survive, there is no choice but to endure. Crazy Brother found himself momentarily stunned. As the barrage of comments in the livestream halted for a brief moment, there is no choice but to endure. This statement fundamentally shattered their preconceived notions of gaming. They had grown accustomed to seeking strategies, exploiting glitches, and spending lavishly to triumph. They believed that a touch of cleverness would allow them to circumvent hardships. Yet, in the face of true history, in those blood-stained years, what shortcuts could possibly exist? That path had been forged step by step through the sheer will and sacrifice of their forebears. Crazy Brother lowered his gaze to his gloves, worn and torn from attempts to exploit glitches, momentarily at a loss for words. After all, wasn't he this merely a game? Yet, he recalled the hand of Little Tiger, which had plunged into the abyss to save him, the cherished black dumpling held dear by Little Tiger and the others, and the relentless efforts of the old squad leader to rescue him. Even amidst the knowledge that this was a game, Crazy Brother's heart softened. He felt no anger towards the old squad leader's slap. I was wrong, old squad leader, he uttered softly, barely audible beneath the howling wind. Yet still heard by the old squad leader. At last, he released his grip and brushed the snow from Crazy Brother's shoulders, his tone returning to that of a simple, earnest man. It's good that you recognize your mistake. Stay close, don't fall behind. Silently, Crazy Brother rejoined the group, determinedly moving his legs to keep pace. He followed in the footsteps left by the old squad leader, step by step. Chapter 4. The entire internet calls for reinforcements. Who is the true tough guy? At that moment, the popularity of Crazy Brother's livestream skyrocketed. It wasn't due to his exceptional gameplay, but rather because his struggles felt overwhelmingly real. So much so that it led everyone to question whether they were living in a parallel universe. Crazy Brother was brought to tears, no shortcuts in the Snow Mountain dungeon. And the hardest game in history, these phrases shot to the trending topics like rockets. Humanity's sorrows and joys may not resonate with one another, but the innate human tendency to gather around a spectacle is universal. Witnessing the once arrogant top streamers being tormented by a mere game, other streamers could no longer remain idle. In a high-end esports apartment in Magic City, a costly tomato-shaped mouse was slammed onto the table with a resounding thud. Damn, what kind of luck does this Crazy Brother have? Exclaimed the man with a buzz cut, his gaze sharp, dressed in a jersey emblazoned with the logo of his team. He was known as Eagle Eye, universally recognized as the premier technical expert in the online realm, consistently dominating the livestream charts with his emphasis on hardcore gameplay and skill. Even in the most hellish shooting games, he could maintain a jovial demeanor while executing headshots. But today, his traffic had been drained by Crazy Brother. Hawkeye's gaze fixated on the stumbling figure on the screen, a disdainful smirk curling at the corners of his lips. A walking simulator can gain popularity? This audience truly has never tasted the finer grains. He activated his microphone, addressing the remaining loyal followers in his livestream with a sardonic tone. Brothers, do not be deceived. This so-called hardcore experience merely heightens environmental values, resorting to tormenting players to attract attention. If we speak of true hardcore, it must be measured by skill. Instantly, the chat erupted in cheers. Hawkeye, why not give it a try yourself? Yes, let the madman witness what it means to possess the physique of a professional player. Go expose that game's numerical traps. Hawkeye raised an eyebrow, seizing the opportunity for some well-deserved attention. Fine, since you all wish to see. I shall pay a visit to this Luan studio. With a flick of his wrist, he clicked the download link, his eyes gleaming with arrogance. I will complete this game at lightning speed, proving to everyone that in this realm, skill reigns supreme. As for willpower, that is merely an excuse for novices. Meanwhile, in another livestream, adorned with a pink backdrop and expensive lighting, Ruanswan, the leading beauty of the aesthetic realm, typically needed only to charm the camera or perform suggestive dances to earn a monthly income in the millions. However, today, her top supporters had flocked to witness that so-called Snow Mountain survival. Watching her popularity plummet, a sense of urgency enveloped her. Is this game truly that enjoyable, my darlings? Ruanswan cooed, batting her striking Castellan eyes at the camera. I've heard the scenery is breathtaking. Perhaps I should give it a try too, just to offer a change of pace. Her thoughts were strategically crafted. This type of scenic game perfectly suited her persona as a charming, albeit naive, beauty. Once inside, all she needed to do was feign a chill, play the adorable card, and strike some picturesque poses for screenshots. Her straight male fans would surely be enamored, showering her with gifts. As for the difficulty? Nonsense. What game developer would genuinely challenge a female player? A few tears shed, and the system would surely provide hints. With unwavering confidence, Ruanswan clicked the download button. At that very moment, Luan had wagered all his recently acquired emotional points. He exchanged for the Extreme Cold Environment Neural Erosion Sound Effect Pack, Advanced, layering auditory hallucinations induced by low-temperature resonance, the brittle crackle of frozen bones, and the muffled tinnitus accompanying slowed blood flow. He also redeemed the Deep Physiological Collapse Module, Hunger Reset Edition, a profound simulation of the burning pain from stomach acid eroding the gastric wall, neural spasms following the depletion of blood sugar, and the illusion of exhaustion as the body begins to consume its own muscle for energy. Additionally, he exchanged for the basic NPC Intelligent Dialogue Module, endowing core NPCs with situationally responsive feedback capabilities. Exchange successful. Materials have been implemented into the Crimson Expedition instance. Luan surveyed his now empty emotional points, a subtle smile gracing his lips. Welcome to the Snow Mountain of 1935. The gaming world, the point of origin. Light and shadow reconstituted, transforming the world from void to substance. Hawkeye opened his eyes, barely able to comprehend the scene before him when a piercing wind, laden with a shrill whistle, struck him fiercely. Cough, cough, cough. As the biting cold wind suddenly invaded his lungs, Eagle Eye was taken aback. The authentic sensation of suffocation prompting a violent cough. Even as a former professional player endowed with remarkable physical prowess, he found himself momentarily disoriented. The sound of the wind was alarmingly real. Unlike the audio effects he was accustomed to hearing through headphones, it felt as though it had penetrated directly into his skull, causing a sharp pain within his mind. Instinctively, he reached for his weapon, only to discover that his fingers were as rigid as a handful of carrots, utterly unresponsive. Not far from him, a shrill scream pierced through the howling snowstorm. Ah, it hurts. What is this? Soft had nearly collapsed upon landing, her lightweight outfit, chosen for its aesthetic appeal during the livestream, proving inadequate against the harsh winds. The frigid air rendered her painfully chilled, compelling her to scream and flail in an attempt to summon the system panel. Deactivate pain sensation. Quickly, deactivate pain sensation. Yet, in this frozen environment, her trembling fingers struggled to accurately tap the virtual buttons. Moreover, her despair deepened as the meticulously crafted makeup she had applied in reality, now projected into the game through facial scanning, was ruined by the physiological tears that froze upon her cheeks. Her eyeliner smudged, eyelashes crystallized, and her visage became grotesquely disfigured. My face hurts, she lamented, crouching in the snow, devoid of any trace of her former beauty, resembling a deranged woman who had just emerged from a coal mine. The gentleman in the live stream watched in stunned silence. What the hell is that soft? This is too real. Her makeup is ruined? Some found it tragic, yet inexplicably amusing. This game is excessively hardcore. It provides no time for adaptation. In contrast, Eagle Eye, though equally affected by the cold, was accustomed to the rigors of hardcore gaming. He fought against his body's tremors, rapidly regulating his breathing, attempting to combat his physiological instincts with game logic. Stop screaming, he shouted at Soft. The more you scream, the colder it gets. If you want to survive, start moving. Eagle Eye scanned his surroundings in search of mission guidance. Before long, he spotted a group of ragged NPCs resembling beggars. He frowned. Are these my teammates? A bunch of vagrants? Approaching a one-armed man, the old squad leader, he observed the rugged figure assisting a young soldier with his leg bindings. Upon noticing the newcomers, the old squad leader's eyes flickered with a complex glimmer, a sign of the recently upgraded system. New recruits, what are you dawdling for? He rasped, rising to his feet. If you don't want to become my sculptures, fall in line. Eagle Eye snorted dismissively, ignoring the old man's concern, and rudely extended his hand. Give me a weapon. The old squad leader blinked in surprise. What? I said, a weapon, Eagle Eye replied impatiently, gesturing towards the gun slung across the old man's back. Isn't this a war game? How am I supposed to fight without a gun? Am I to defeat the enemies by merely walking? The audience in the live stream chimed in, echoing the sentiment. Exactly. Eagle Eye is a sharpshooter. Hand him a gun, and he'll dominate the field. Hurry up and give him a weapon. Look at these clueless NPCs. The old squad leader gazed at Hawkeye's nonchalant demeanor, and his expression darkened. However, he refrained from voicing his thoughts and silently unwrapped the long rifle he had long concealed with a tattered cloth, offering it forward. Use it sparingly, he murmured. For this weapon was a trusted companion. Hawkeye snatched the gun without even acknowledging the squad leader's words. To him, it was merely a prop. A data model capable of dispatching life with a mere squeeze of the trigger. Yet, as his fingers wrapped around the cold barrel, the heavy weight pressing against his palm transformed his expression. This was unlike any formidable weapon he had ever encountered. It lacked tactical rails, a red dot sight, or an ergonomic grip. The wooden stock was encased in decay, with black tape wrapped around its fissures. Stunned, Hawkeye stood still as the wind and snow howled around him. Clutching this crude instrument, he felt a rare doubt about his own skills. Could this thing truly kill? Chapter 5. Is this gun just a firewood stick? What a piece of junk. Hawkeye's face was awash with disdain, nearly spilling off the screen. He had encountered thousands of virtual firearms, even in antiquated games. The weapons gleamed like industrial masterpieces. But this contraption? The rusted bolt, the corroded barrel, and the wooden stock smeared with unknown grime and blood. The system panel flashed a dismal description before his eyes. Item: Old Hanyang, commonly known as the Old Tube. Quality: damaged, extremely poor. Accuracy: highly deviated. Remaining ammunition: 3 rounds. Note: it is older than your grandfather. The rifling is nearly worn away, yet it still yearns for battle. Hanyang? The Old Tube? Hawkeye scoffed, turning to the live stream to vent his frustrations. Brothers, is the designer out of their mind? Starting off with this industrial scrap? How am I supposed to showcase my skills? The comments echoed his sentiments. This gun wouldn't even take down a bird. 3 rounds? Even in a pistol match, ID typically carry 2 magazines. The difficulty was unreasonable, seemingly crafted to vex the players. To illustrate the gun's worthlessness, Hawkeye expertly pulled back the bolt. Click-clack. The sound was dry and grating, with a distinct stutter in the action. Listen to that. He shook his head, adopting a pose of professional critique. There's no oil on this gun. The firing pin is probably rusted. With this level of maintenance, the chance of a catastrophic failure is at least 30. Ignoring the incredulous stares from nearby NPCs, he raised the weapon skyward, intending to take a test shot to demonstrate its abysmal recoil feedback. Watch closely. I'll show you what a human outline tool looks like. Hawkeye narrowed his eyes, his finger poised on the trigger. Pop! A faint sound echoed, not the thunderous roar of a bullet firing, but rather the feeble thump of the hammer striking the primer. It misfired. Immediately, as Hawkeye attempted to reload the bullet, it seemed as though it had become welded within the chamber, utterly refusing to budge. A jam. In the midst of the wind and snow, Hawkeye maintained his stance, his entire being frozen in place. The live stream erupted, but this time it was solely filled with mockery. Haha, Hawkeye has met his downfall. Is this the so-called skill over luck? How hilarious, jamming right at the start. This game is clearly targeting you. Hawkeye's face flushed crimson, his embarrassment morphing into anger as he played up the drama. What a pathetic game. What a worthless gun. With a sudden motion, he hurled the Hanyang rifle into the snow, cursing vehemently. This is hardly fit for human use. Even an AK would outshine this. Designer, are you going to fix this bug or not? With that throw, he exerted all his strength. The heavy rifle struck the hard ice, producing a chillingly sharp sound. What are you doing? A cry laced with tears erupted suddenly. Before Hawkeye could comprehend the situation, a small figure lunged forward. It was the smallest warrior in the team, appearing no older than 14 or 15, affectionately dubbed Little Bean by the others. Little Bean paid no heed to the icy ground, dropping to his knees and diving for the abandoned rifle, cradling it as though it were a newborn. He carefully picked it up. Then, using the frayed cuffs of his tattered coat, he fervently wiped the snow and water from the gun's surface. Don't let it get wet. Please don't let it get wet, Little Bean murmured, tears streaming down his cheeks, falling onto the rusted barrel and instantly forming icy beads. Hawkeye was bewildered by this scene. Is it really necessary? It's just a string of data code. He scoffed dismissively. If it's broken, let the system refresh it. Shut your mouth. Little Bean suddenly raised his head. His once clear and timid eyes were now bloodshot, filled with a fierce intensity akin to a cub whose scales had been touched. Hawkeye flinched at the gaze, instinctively retreating a half step. Is this truly an NPC? The anger, the heartache, it felt all too real. While warming the jammed bolt with his own body heat, Little Bean choked out. This was left by our squad leader. To seize this rifle, the squad leader was riddled with bullets from the enemy's machine gun. He clung to it, even as his intestines spilled out. He entrusted it to me before he died, and you dare call it garbage? Little Bean struggled to use his frostbitten fingers to pry the stuck cartridge loose, his nails peeling back and oozing blood, yet he seemed impervious to the pain. It is meant to strike the enemy. It is to defend our homeland, not for you to throw around. The wind and snow appeared to intensify. Amidst the howling wind, the boys' cries sounded so fragile, yet deafening. The other warriors gathered around, silent, yet their gazes towards Hawkeye shifted from that of comrades to that of an incomprehensible monster. Within those eyes lay disappointment, anger, and a profound sorrow. It was the look one gives to a prodigal. Softy, who had been sobbing from the cold, momentarily forgot to cry. She stared blankly at the small NPC, whose sleeve had worn thin from the incessant rubbing against the gun, a sudden crack appearing in her heart, revealing the dissonance of this being merely a game. Hawkeye stood motionless, at a loss for words. He wished to express that this was nothing but a low-tier weapon, questioning who in reality would wield such a battered firearm. Yet, before the bloodied boy, desperately clinging to a piece of scrap metal, he found himself at a loss for words. At that moment, the silent old sergeant approached. He extracted a dry, tattered cloth from his pocket and gently took the gun from the boy's hands, his movements both deft and tender. With a decisive click, the sergeant forcefully struck the gun mechanism, dislodging the jammed bullet with a flick of skill. He retrieved a small vial of precious, nearly depleted gun oil from his pocket and meticulously applied it to the bolt. Having completed these tasks, he slung the gun back over his shoulder and turned to gaze coldly at Hawkeye. The sergeant's eyes seemed to deepen with a profound gravity. Young man, he began. You disdain its age, its obsolescence, and its tendency to jam. You deem it a mere firestick. He gestured towards the distant, desolate snow-capped mountains and then towards his ragged comrades behind him. But in this cursed place, in our hands, this is life. This is our sole reliance, enabling us to stand tall and confront those armed with planes and cannons. The sergeant paused, a hint of bitter self-mockery lacing his tone. Had we possessed the fine weapons you speak of, even just 10 of them, perhaps we would not have to shield ourselves with our chests against the guns. Chapter 6. The first night, a hellish bonfire. Hawkeye remained frozen, eager to counter with some game terminology, perhaps about equipment disadvantages or version upgrades. However, as he listened to the sergeant's words, that this gun represented life, and observed the frostbitten yet resolute faces of the soldiers around him, all the words lodged in his throat. Enough of this, days, the sergeant commanded, refraining from further lecturing. He glanced upward, a flicker of concern passing through his murky eyes. The sun was sinking. The gates of hell were about to open. Hawkeye was bewildered. Had the tempestuous snowstorm not ceased moments ago? The next instant, he comprehended the meaning of the gates of hell. As the last vestige of sunlight was engulfed by the snow line, the world was plunged into darkness. The once bearable cold plummeted at a terrifying rate, transforming from a mere knife-like chill by day to a bone-piercing freeze by night. Warnings flashed violently in the lower left corner of his vision. Warning, core temperature maintenance system overload. Warning, if the core temperature drops below 32 degrees, hypothermic hallucinations will ensue. Move, set up camp, find a sheltered slope. The sergeant bellowed, his voice crystallizing into white mist in the frigid air. The team began to shift towards a low-lying rock face. At that moment, the little tiger in the front slipped. Watch out! A thunderous shout echoed. It was the ever-silent Brother Mad, who had been quietly trailing behind the group. As the little tiger slid towards a crevice in the ice, Brother Mad lunged forward. Seizing the tiger's arm with a fierce grip, momentum carried the two individuals downward for several meters, and with a violent impact, the protagonist's chest collided against a protruding ice rock, producing a sound that grated on the nerves. Gritting his teeth in pain, he pressed his face against the icy surface. Yet a sinister grin stretched across his features. This time, I have secured my catch. With bulging veins, he forcefully yanked the younger companion back to safety. The latter, still shaken, gazed at the blood trickling from the protagonist's forehead. New recruit, be silent and stay close to me, he barked, abruptly interrupting his companion. As he rose to brush the snow from his attire, though his hands trembled, his eyes shone with a terrifying intensity. In the live broadcast, loyal fans were moved to tears. Incredible. A true man. They lamented. He finally saved him. That leap was so heroic. Is this the same person who only hurls insults? He seems like a different individual. At last, the team managed to reposition themselves to a wind-sheltered slope. Here, the wind was absent, yet a chill ascended from the ground. The so-called camp consisted merely of a few tattered oilcloths erected, with dozens of individuals crammed into this confined space. Huddle close. Back to back. Lock your legs together. The old squad leader began to assign sleeping spots. In this moment, a young woman named Wan huddled in a corner, trembling. Ice beads clung to her lashes, and she appeared utterly frozen. Upon hearing the command, she instinctively resisted. I don't want to, Wan's voice quivered, as she looked at the filthy NPCs beside her, exuding an unpleasant odor. It's too dirty. I have a phobia of germs. She, a goddess with millions of fans, was accustomed to bringing her own sheets when staying in hotels. How could she possibly squeeze in with a group of beggars like sardines? Not squeezing in. The old squad leader cast her a cold glance. Then you'll sleep outside. Wan peered into the pitch-black snowfield, where the howling wind resembled the wails of lost souls. She shivered, and was about to protest further when she felt herself being lifted effortlessly. Eagle Eye yanked her over, pressing her into the mass of bodies. If you wish to survive, keep quiet. His face was ashen, teeth chattering. This game was no jest, and the temperature gauge was perilously low. Though arrogant, Eagle Eye was no fool. He sensed his thoughts growing sluggish, a precursor to hypothermia. Despite his inner discomfort, he steeled himself and squeezed in among the NPCs. To his left was the old squad leader, and to his right was the young recruit who had fought him fiercely for a firearm. Strangely, as the body heat of dozens of individuals converged, the soul-chilling cold was momentarily warded off. However, this warmth did not endure, and a sensation more terrifying than the cold crept through his nerves. Hunger, not the mere rumbling of an empty stomach, but a gnawing pain as the stomach walls rubbed against each other, acid corroding the mucosa, each cell screaming for energy. Eagle Eye felt as though he had swallowed a ball of fire, sweat pouring down his face. The sounds of growling stomachs resonated throughout the camp. Dinner, the old squad leader declared gravely. Instantly, all eyes lit up with a predatory gleam. Wan also looked up in eager anticipation. Even a lump of coal would suffice now, for she felt she could devour an entire cow. Yet, there was no lump of coal. Little Doozy set up the military pot, which was missing a corner, and threw in a handful of snow from the ground. Then, under the astonished gaze of everyone, the old squad leader unbuckled his worn leather belt. It was a cowhide belt, frayed and stained black with grime. The old squad leader drew out a dagger, slicing the belt into finger-width segments and tossing them into the pot. Boil. Just one word. Eagle Eye's pupils widened in shock. Can this really be eaten? This is cowhide, rich in grease. Beside him, despite his pallid complexion, Brother Kwong seemed mentally prepared, hoarsely explaining that if boiled a little longer, it would soften enough to swallow. As the water boiled, a murky foam floated on the surface, releasing a pungent odor mingled with years of sweat, leather, and earthy scents that assaulted the senses. Wan gagged, tears and snot streaming down her face. I won't eat this. How can this be consumed? It's a belt. The live stream chat erupted in disbelief. Are they really boiling a belt? Is this designer insane? I can almost taste that smell through the screen. Is this plot even conceivable for a carbon-based life form? The old squad leader paid no heed to Wan's protests. He stirred the pot with a stick, retrieved a piece of boiled leather that was half soft, and without blowing on it, directly stuffed it into his mouth. Crunch, crunch. The old squad leader chewed vigorously, his cheeks bulging and veins popping in his neck. Then, with a determined gulp, he swallowed it down. He then filled a bowl with the black liquid and handed it to the nearby Eagle Eye. Drink it. Eagle Eye stared at the bowl, filled with floating, unidentifiable debris, as his stomach churned violently. In reality, he was the ace of the team, accustomed to gourmet meals meticulously prepared by a nutritionist, even drinking only premium tomato juice. To be asked to drink water boiled with a stinking belt? I'm not hungry. Eagle Eye thought, almost refusing. System notification. Current hunger level has reached the critical threshold. Failure to eat will result in a reduction of life limit and trigger organ failure debuff. The sharp pain in his abdomen forced Eagle Eye to bend double, his body revolting against him, compelling him to yield. Trembling, he accepted the broken bowl. Gazing into its reflection, he barely recognized his filthy face, stripped of its usual handsomeness. For the sake of clearing the level, for the sake of viewership, he chanted in his heart, closed his eyes, and took a deep gulp. Bitter, astringent, fishy, foul. The taste exploded in his mouth like a biochemical bomb. Eagle Eye nearly spat it out, but he clamped his mouth shut, forcing his throat to swallow. The scalding black liquid flowed down his esophagus into his stomach. Though it tasted horrendous, at that moment, the cramping in his stomach eased just slightly. It was warmth. A flicker of hope for survival. Eagle Eye set down the bowl, gasping for air, a single tear of physiological distress escaping from the corner of his eye. He turned to see Wan, sobbing while Brother Kwong pressed her to drink the broth. Meanwhile, little Doozy held a small piece of the belt, savoring it like a delicacy. Licking the grease with reverence. What hell is this? They are streamers, enduring this for the sake of views and popularity. How on earth can these individuals, while consuming such wretched sustenance, still endeavor to traverse that accursed snow-capped mountain? Chapter 7. They are not NPCs, they are humans. The night stretched interminably, seemingly devoid of an end. The meager campfire, feebly flickering, was fueled by the dried cow dung and withered grass that the warriors had scraped from the snowdrifts. The flames barely reached the height of a finger and required constant vigilance to prevent being extinguished by the wind. The campsite was enveloped in the crackling sounds of burning firewood, interspersed with the occasional stifled cough. Eagle Eye huddled, his neck drawn in, the peculiar taste of leather soup churning in his stomach, yet he found himself lacking the energy to feel nauseated. Strangely, those NPCs who had previously appeared as mere background figures now seemed remarkably vivid. Hey, squad leader, Eagle Eye could no longer contain himself, shattering the silence. He found it utterly incomprehensible to grasp the rationale behind their actions. Why are you choosing this path? He placed the battered bowl on his lap, striving to maintain an objective and rational tone. There are several more formidable snow-capped mountains ahead. In our current state, devoid of food and water, our guns lacking ammunition. He gestured towards the warriors huddled around him. This is tantamount to courting death. ISNT surrendering or disbanding on the spot a viable option. This is no way for humans to live. This encapsulated the most genuine confusion of the Blue Star players. Within their value system, self-interest reigned supreme. If the cost-benefit ratio was disproportionate, even risking one's life, then ceasing to invest would be the act of a wise individual. Within the livestream, numerous viewers echoed his sentiments. To be fair, Eagle Eye has a point. This is utterly a suicidal march. Though grim, does this perseverance hold any significance? I would have exited the game long ago. It is utterly torturous. The old squad leader, by the faint glow of the fire, was mending his clothes. His stitching was coarse, his hands riddled with frostbite, blood seeping from the cracks, yet he seemed impervious to pain, meticulously sewing each stitch. Upon hearing Eagle Eye's remarks, he momentarily paused in his work. He exhibited no anger nor offered grandiloquent explanations. Instead, he simply bit through the thread, flipping the repaired garment, which belonged to Little Tiger. Disbanded? The old squad leader lowered his head, his voice wavering amidst the howling wind. Disbanding would be splendid. We could return home, sleep in a warm bed. He lifted his gaze to meet Eagle Eye's, the dim flames reflected in his murky eyes. But if we disband, who will confront those who bully us? Who will defend our homes? If we do not traverse this snow-capped mountain, those who oppress us will continue to trample upon us. If we do not strive to unite, our children will be condemned to toil like we have, never tasting a full meal. From his chest, the old squad leader produced a small bundle wrapped in layers of oiled paper. He carefully unwrapped it to reveal a drawing. More precisely, a sketch hastily drawn on the back of a cigarette box. The lines were crooked, depicting a stick figure with merely 3 fingers, holding the hand of a little girl. Beside them, a large sun was drawn alongside a steaming bowl of noodles. This is my child's drawing. An extraordinarily gentle and proud smile suddenly illuminated the weathered face of the old squad leader. That smile unfurled the wrinkles on his face. It was 3 years ago when the team passed by my doorstep, and my child was just this tall. The old squad leader gestured to her waist, handing me something while saying that once the battle concluded, her father would take her out for a bowl of white noodles. I promised her I would. The old squad leader gently caressed the edge of the drawing paper, her voice quivering with cold and excitement. I assured her that once we had driven away the villains, once we emerged victorious, everyone would have land to cultivate and food to eat. I would return to cook her a bowl of white noodles filled with meat. But if we falter now and surrender, the old squad leader cast a piercing glance at Eagle Eye, her expression suddenly sharp as a blade. What will become of my child? Will she still have to tend cattle and endure the whip? Young ones, this path is fraught with hardship. The old squad leader carefully re-wrapped the drawing, placing it close to her heart. But if we see this through, our children shall not have to tread this path. Eagle Eye was momentarily stunned. He observed the old squad leader's face, radiant with happiness at the mention of her daughter, and the surrounding warriors, though gaunt. Their eyes sparkling at the words Landon children. An unfamiliar emotion surged within him, overwhelming like a tidal wave. In the realm of Blue Star, NPCs were mere data, their purpose to dispense rewards or be slain. Yet here, this old squad leader seemed more than a mere program. She was a mother. The little one, whose hands were frostbitten from cleaning weapons, was a brother seeking vengeance for his commander. The little tiger, who fell while trying to save others, was a living, breathing soul. Each one of them appeared to harbor their own connections, driven by something more significant than life itself, sustaining them through this hell. Especially the heartfelt exchange between the old squad leader and Eagle I made it difficult for him to believe she was merely a virtual character. For the sake of our children, so they need not traverse this snowy mountain, Eagle, I murmured. The weight of those words felt profoundly heavy for those who had grown accustomed to a life of entertainment. In the live stream, the previously incessant barrage of critical comments suddenly ceased. No one called anyone a fool, nor did anyone deride the game. After a long pause, a red high-level comment floated by. Streamer, stop talking. I'll send you 10 supreme tomatoes. Can you buy the squad leader a bowl of noodles? Almost immediately, comments flooded the screen. I'll contribute too. Please, get the little one a gun. This was no mere game. It was as though my heart was being wrenched out and thrown to the ground. I had just been laughing at them for eating belts. I should be ashamed. Eagle Eye watched the comments drift across his screen, then glanced at the old squad leader, who was still cheerfully stitching clothes. Suddenly, he felt a twinge in his nose. As a master of technical skills, he had never cried during a live broadcast. Yet at that moment, he lowered his head, using the pretense of organizing his gear to wipe away a tear. Beside him, Softy, who had been complaining about her obsessive cleanliness and the cold, fell silent. She nestled among the crowd, gazing at the bulging spot in the old squad leader's arms. She thought of her own reality, where she could go 3 days without food just to afford a bag, or whimsically act coy to draw attention. For the sake of a promise that their children will have enough to eat, these individuals sacrificed their very lives in the snow pits. A soft voice, barely audible and tinged with tremor, emerged. She retrieved a half-frozen black lump from her bosom, a remnant she had previously scorned and hidden away, intending to discard it. She extended the black lump to the old squad leader, who replied, I'm not hungry. With reddened eyes, she told the clumsiest lie of her life. You should eat a bit. You still need to lead us out. The old squad leader paused, gazing at the hardtack in her hand, marked by bite marks. He smiled, then gently ruffled her hair, as one would do for their own daughter. Silly girl, keep it. We still have to climb tomorrow. Chapter 8. The Dragon Kingdom does not deceive its own. The old squad leader's rough palm rested upon her head, emanating a peculiar warmth. The clumsy gesture conveyed a tenderness akin to that of a parent for their child. Soft tears cascaded down her cheeks. She was not performing. For the first time in her life, she was treated in such a manner, not due to her appearance or fame, but simply because she had acted foolishly. Yet, how could she possibly retain the black lump? Keep it, be obedient. Seeing her outstretched hand, the old squad leader gently returned the half of the black lump to her embrace. The journey ahead was still long. Holding the hard-as-stone ration, Soft bit her lip, sobbing quietly. In the live stream, those gentlemen who usually flaunted their affections were now devoid of any frivolous expressions. Don't cry, Soft. I, a grown man, can't bear to see this. Streamer, eat the ration. I will send you a supreme tomato. What the hell is going on with this game? As he watched, Bro felt a tumult of emotions. He recalled his own disdain when he had first discarded his rations. Now, witnessing Soft in tears and the old squad leader's nonchalant demeanor, he felt a burning shame on his face. Eagle Eye fell silent, his theoretical optimal solutions appearing absurdly pale in this moment. What is the optimal solution? To give the rations to the weakest, ensuring the survival of the group? Or to keep them for oneself, guaranteeing the survival of the core output? In the old squad leader's world, such calculations seemed non-existent. He simply perceived her as a foolish girl in need of care. At that moment, a system notification echoed in everyone's ears. Warning, immersive game time has reached the daily legal limit. The system will forcibly disconnect the neural link in 10 seconds. What the hell? Bro was the first to react, abruptly looking up as if to grasp something. Yet before him, the smiling face of the old squad leader. The side profile of Little Bean dozing with a rifle, and Soft's tear-streaked face began to fade rapidly into transparency. No, Bro reached out, but grasped only a void of pixelated light. I haven't even had a chance to speak with the squad leader. Softy was feeling anxious, wishing to charm the old squad leader into accepting her provisions. Eagle Eye, however, was intently focused on his status bar, eager to record his current body temperature, hunger level, and team morale for future analysis. Yet, time slipped away from them. The world abruptly transitioned from the frigid expanse of snow to their lavish esports rooms. The climate-controlled air conditioning enveloped them in a cozy warmth, and the ergonomic chairs cradled their bodies, while half-finished chilled beverages lay on the desk. Everything felt so comfortable, so secure. Yet, the three leading streamers were collectively enveloped by an unsettling chill and a profound emptiness. With a sudden motion, Brother Crazy ripped off his headset, his chest heaving as he gasped for breath. He placed a hand on his stomach. It no longer ached, nor was he hungry. Yet it felt hollow, as if something essential was missing. In the live stream room, millions of viewers were simultaneously ejected from the broadcast. The barrage of comments experienced a half-second delay before erupting in an explosive wave of fury. What the hell, Lone Studio? I'm in tears and you cut me off? Just 5 more minutes. I want to see the squad leader eat those provisions. I forgot, it's already midnight. Curse this VR anti-addiction. The VR anti-addiction law was a stipulation of the Golden Immersion Night. In the Blue Star Dragon country, VR games, requiring neural connections, are legally restricted to 18 to 2400 hours on weekdays to prevent cognitive overload. Brother Crazy, staring at the screen filled with lamentations, found himself devoid of the usual inclination to engage. Agitated, he raked his fingers through his tousled hair and opened his contacts, dialing Eagle Eye's number. The call connected instantly. Hello? Eagle Eye's voice was gravelly, equally lacking in enthusiasm. Create a group, Brother Crazy instructed succinctly. All right. A minute later, a small group named Snow Mountain Demolition Office was successfully established, consisting of 3 members, Brother Crazy, Eagle Eye, and Softy. Brother Crazy, are we the only 3 in this lobby? Eagle Eye, most likely. I checked the forum. Other players are randomly matched, with at most 1 streamer per team. There's no situation like ours with 3 top-tier streamers grouped together. Softy sent a crying emoji. Is Lone Studio doing this on purpose? Are we their guinea pigs? Testing the server's limits? Brother Crazy replied with an enraged emoji. That old thief, Lone, is too cunning, binding us together to maximize the hype. He.S. throwing his abacus beads in my face. Eagle Eye, regardless of his intentions, we must clear this game. His tone was calm, yet resolute. This game was unlike any they had encountered before. It wasn't merely about the emotional immersion, even for the sake of their audience. They had to see this game through. I will review the footage tonight and compile all NPC behaviors, terrain data, and resource consumption rates. Tomorrow, we must enhance our efficiency. Brother Crazy, precisely. Tomorrow, we must maximize the utilization of that pot. No one can lag behind any longer. Softy, yes. I want T-Cry tomorrow. I will definitely keep up. At 6 o'clock the following day, shadows danced as the biting cold wind once again invaded the lungs. Brother Mad jolted awake, abruptly transitioning from the warmth of reality to the icy abyss. However, this time he refrained from cursing and instead immediately assessed his condition. Body temperature normal. Hunger level at yellow, and his position remained where he logged off last night. Brother Mad surveyed his surroundings. The old class monitor and Little Bean were present. Resembling sculptures paused in time. As the players logged in, these NPCs began to thaw, gradually coming to life. Is dawn breaking? The old class monitor rubbed his eyes. The first to rise, scanning the vicinity with vigilance. Softy also logged in, and upon opening her eyes, she spotted the old class monitor. Instinctively clutching the half piece of hardtack in her arms tighter. Monitor, upon awakening, quickly pack your belongings and prepare to set off, the old class monitor commanded, shaking off the snow from his attire with an unyielding tone. Upon logging in, Eagle Eye immediately accessed the system menu and discovered the newly updated historical resonance agreement from Luoan. Would you like to sign? By signing, you will relinquish 10 of pain perception shielding in exchange for enhanced emotional perception capabilities of NPCs. Trading suffering for empathy? Luo the old rascal. You truly are something. Without hesitation, Eagle Eye declined. He was a technical player, unperturbed by such ephemeral emotional enhancements. Yet, he soon recalled the strategy he devised last night. Eagle Eye's core tactic was to exploit his advantage as a pseudo-prophet. He intended to provide spoilers, even though the world of the old class monitor was evidently not aligned with the current history of Blue Star. Nevertheless, they were all citizens of Longwa. And Longwa people do not deceive their own. Cough cough. As long as he could convince the NPCs, avoiding some of the death traps uncovered by players, their efficiency in clearing levels would significantly improve. With this thought, Eagle Eye approached the old class monitor. Monitor, he began, clearing his throat, striving to make his tone sound sincere and trustworthy. I had a dream last night. The old class monitor paused in his inspection of firearms, looking up at him with a hint of skepticism. What did you dream about? Dreaming of eating meat? No, Eagle Eye replied solemnly. I dreamt of the future. I dreamt that we won. We drove away all the bad guys, divided the land, and lived prosperous lives. Chapter 9. Our manure, we will guard it. Eagle Eye fixed his gaze intently on the old class monitor's eyes, attempting to catch a glimpse of shock or elation. The audience in the live stream held their breath. Eagle Eye is commencing. A dimensional strike. Quick, observe the NPC's reactions. Can AI handle such transcendent information? Yet the old class monitor merely blinked in surprise, extending his frostbitten arm to touch Eagle Eye's forehead. No fever, he concluded, withdrawing his hand with a sigh, his eyes filled with sympathy. Child, are you perhaps muddled from hunger? Speaking nonsense now? The old class monitor patted Eagle Eye's shoulder, his tone earnest and heartfelt. Only dreaming of beautiful things. To live a good life, we must forge our own path through relentless effort, rather than relying on mere dreams. Save your strength for the ascent. With that, the old squad leader turned away, attending to the other soldiers, leaving Eagle Eye bewildered. This script is all wrong, he exclaimed, undeterred by the disbelief surrounding him. He rushed to Little Tiger's side. Listen, The cliff ahead conceals a treacherous ice pit. We must avoid that area at all costs. Little Tiger scratched his head, gazing at him as if he were foolish. New recruit, have you lost your senses? That is a sheer cliff. Who would venture there? Eagle Eye then approached Soft, intending to caution her against the perils of frostbite. However, barely uttering the words, I foresee, he was promptly dismissed by her. Stay away. Have you succumbed to delusions from the cold? You're talking nonsense. After circling the camp and relaying his ominous predictions to each soldier, he found no one believed him. They all regarded him with expressions that conveyed concern for his sanity, including Crazy Brother and Soft. The NPC's gazes shifted from sympathy to genuine worry. Eagle Eye was utterly perplexed. He wished to proclaim, this is a game. I am but a player, yet every time he attempted to utter these pivotal phrases, his throat constricted, rendering him only capable of incoherent sounds. The system had muted him. That cunning rogue, Lao, had implemented a mechanism so stringent against spoilers. Any discourse transcending the temporal confines of the game was interpreted by the AI as signs of madness, as if he had been rendered senseless by the cold or starvation. The more he sought to assert his prophetic insight, the more deranged he appeared to the NPCs. In the streaming room, the audience erupted in laughter. This is social death in real time. Eagle Eye, stop trying. The squad leader thinks you're out of your mind. The AI was relentless, eschewing logic and outright declaring him insane. Amidst the swirling snow, Eagle Eye felt the weight of the surrounding gazes, laden with pity and condescension. He finally comprehended the announcement that spoke of rectifying various issues that could impair one's immersive experience. In this realm, they were not exalted players, rather. They were mere new recruits, at risk of freezing, starving, or being ostracized as fools. At that moment, Crazy Brother and Soft exchanged glances, both relieved to find that the other shared their unvoiced thoughts, grateful that they had refrained from acting on them. Otherwise, they would be the ones in this awkward predicament. Clearing his throat, Crazy Brother shattered the tension. Enough dawdling. Follow the squad leader's orders. It's time to move out. Taking the initiative, Crazy Brother stepped to the front, beginning to clear the snow from their path. Eagle Eye lingered for a few moments before heaving a sigh and silently following suit. With intellect proving insufficient for victory, they would have to rely on sheer physical strength. Yet, today's journey was far more arduous than yesterday's. Luo's recent updates imbued the environment with a palpable sense of historical weight. The winds howled more fiercely, the snow fell more densely, and the air grew thinner. The pace of the procession slowed to a crawl. After less than half an hour of trudging through the snow, the friliest member of the group, Ruo, was the first to succumb to exhaustion. Her stamina had dipped below the critical threshold, her breaths becoming rapid and shallow, while dark spots began to cloud her vision. I can't go on. I can't move any longer, she lamented, collapsing onto the snow, gasping heavily, tears welling in her eyes. Don't stop, roared Kwang Gu from the front. If you sit down, you won't be able to get back up. But I truly lack the strength, Ruo thought. For she was a delicate girl accustomed to having her brother assist her even with the simplest tasks, never having endured such hardship. At that moment, Zaiduzi, the logistics member at the back of the line, approached. He was burdened with a massive sack wrapped in tattered cloth, the weight nearly bending his small frame at a right angle. Here, he said, pulling out a small piece of dark, unappealing rations and offering it to Ruo. Another piece of hardtack. Yet this time, she did not recoil in distaste, for it was the best food available to the group. However, she shook her head. I won't eat. You should have it. You've carried so much. She noticed that Zaiduzi's lips were chapped and bleeding. I'm carrying cow dung. It's not heavy. He replied, flashing a grin that revealed a set of small white teeth. Hurry and eat. You need your strength. Cow dung. Ruoro was taken aback. It was only then that she realized the bulging sack on Zaiduzi's back contained slabs of sun-dried, dark brown cow dung. Is this fuel? Ruoro's voice trembled. Yes. Zaiduzi replied matter-of-factly. Without sufficient dried cow dung, how will we light a fire tonight? A wave of shame washed over Ruoro. She had been so absorbed in her own discomfort that she had failed to notice these crucial details, mistakenly believing the campfires were generated by the system. In reality, the fuel for warmth had been painstakingly carried up the mountain by these warriors, with the youngest and seemingly weakest among them, Zaiduzi, bearing the heaviest load. Ruo gazed into Zaiduzi's clear eyes, suddenly rising to her feet and wiping away her tears. Then, amidst the astonished stares of her companions, she approached Zaiduzi. I will help you carry it. Zaiduzi was taken aback. You? No, that is not possible. You're just a girl. I can do it. Without waiting for further protest, Ruo reached out to grasp the sack, filled with cow dung. The moment she lifted it, the weight nearly threw her off balance. A pungent mixture of hay and livestock odors assaulting her senses. Her stomach churned violently, and she retched. She had an extreme aversion to dirt. In reality, she wouldn't even use a cup touched by another person. Yet now, she clung tightly to the foul-smelling sack of dung. I will carry half of it. She gritted her teeth, hoisting the sack onto her back. In the live stream, Roro's fans were left dumbfounded. Am I seeing this correctly? Is Roro really trying to carry dung? Is this the same girl who couldn't even twist off a bottle cap? Madness. The individuals within this game have all succumbed to insanity. Alas, my wife has matured. She now understands the pangs of compassion. A user with the ID Soft's top brother has directly displayed a supreme tomato worth a staggering 100,000 blue star coins on the screen. Soft. What you carry is not mere dung, but a profound responsibility. This marks the first occasion since Soft began her broadcast that she has received such a prestigious gift not through charm or dance, but through the weight of duty. She herself remains oblivious to this fact. Clumsily adjusting her straps, she turns to Xiao Duzi and says, "Let us proceed." Xiao Duzi gazes at Soft's wind-kissed, resolute face. Scratching his head with a smile, he no longer declines her request. Instead, he hands her his rations. "Eat this, or you won't manage to carry it." Soft accepts the provisions without protest, taking a hearty bite. It's tough, it's unpalatable, yet it is undeniably fragrant. Meanwhile, Eagle Eye is also moved. Observing how Xiao Duzi's steps lighten with the shared burden, he approaches him. "Hey, kid," Eagle Eye calls out to Xiao Duzi. "Let me see your gun." Xiao Duzi instinctively clutches his Hanyang rifle protectively. "Are you going to drop it again?" "No." Eagle Eye shakes his head earnestly. "I will teach you how to maintain it." Surprisingly, he refrains from mocking the rifle as a mere firewood stick. Instead, he draws upon his extensive FPS gaming experience and knowledge gleaned from military forums to enlighten Xiao Duzi. "See, in this weather, moisture easily condenses inside the barrel. Merely wiping it is ineffective." Eagle Eye scoops up a handful of dry snow from the ground and rubs it vigorously on the bolt. "Use snow. The cold temperature causes the moisture on the metal surface to freeze, and with a cloth, it will come off. This is known as the condensation method. Furthermore, during shooting in snowy weather, the trajectory will drop significantly, so you need to raise your sights at least one body height. This is called calculating lead." Xiao Duzi is momentarily taken aback, then realizes that this newcomer is not aiming to drop his gun, but rather to instruct him in its use. Observing the once frenzied, yet now suddenly composed Eagle Eye, Xiao Duzi's tone shifts to one of subtle admiration. "Newbie, you know so much." The corners of Eagle Eye's mouth lift slightly. Although Xiao Duzi's tone seems peculiar, he interprets it as admiration. Finally reclaiming a semblance of the respect due to a technical streamer. Leading the way is Brother Kwong, who exemplifies what it means to be a true leader. Within the group, a bugler, weakened by illness, struggles to continue, needing to pause for breath after just a few steps. Without a moment's hesitation, Brother Kwong takes on the weight of the bugler's heavy military horn and his backpack, slinging them over his own shoulders. System notification: you have entered an overweight state. Movement speed decreased by 20, stamina consumption increased by 30. Brother Kwong's health bar begins to decline gradually. Yet, he remains silent, gritting his teeth under the strain, bearing all the weight upon his shoulders. His singular thought is clear: no one shall be left behind. Not a single soul. The old squad leader silently observed the transformations of the three peculiar new recruits, a flicker of gratification passing through his murky eyes. He picked up three relatively sturdy branches from the snow, stripped them of their twigs, and fashioned them into rudimentary walking sticks. Approaching the trio, he handed them the wooden staffs, succinctly instructing them to take hold of them, conserving his energy. This gesture served as a wordless endorsement. Meanwhile, the metamorphosis of the streamers stirred ripples within the vast community of Cloud players. The atmosphere in the livestream chat subtly shifted. Initially, viewers had gathered for entertainment, reveling in the antics of the reckless brother, the setbacks of Eagle Eye, and Soft's tearful outbursts. However, the tide had turned. Kong Gu is incredible. This is what a true man looks like. Eagle Eye, stop teaching. I fear Little Bean might learn, and then you'd be out of the picture. Wah. Soft is my goddess, was then, and even more so now. Damn it, this is getting my blood pumping. I want to dive in and shovel dung too. Who's in? Let us form a red dung brigade to bring warmth to the squad leader. The enthusiasm echoed across various gaming communities. Luo astutely seized this opportunity, promptly issuing a new announcement on the official website. To express gratitude to our passionate travelers, the studio has decided to launch a limited-time welfare activity. Starting now, the first 100,000 players to download and enter the game will receive a complimentary new player care package. The package includes a set of patched old cotton clothing, better than nothing, and a pair of thickened straw sandals. Perhaps they'll save you a few frostbites. Supplies are limited, first come, first served. Luo and Studio, dedicated to bringing you the most authentic healing experience. The Cloud players were instantly intrigued. Free cotton clothing? Such a stroke of luck. Brothers, let us go? For the cotton clothing, Luo the thief has finally had a moment of conscience. Though what he's giving away is still trash. Enough talk. I'm downloading now. Wait for me, squad leader. I'm coming to deliver dung. Meanwhile, Luo's emotional value reached a pivotal number. Emotional value has accumulated to 10,000 points. New functional module unlocked. Memory retrospection filter, basic. Would you like to spend 5,000 emotional points to load this filter for all currently online players? Without hesitation, Luo clicked yes. Night fell deep. The night in the snowy mountains was devoid of stars and moonlight, engulfed by an endless abyss of darkness and an unceasing wind. The howling wind, akin to the wailing of spirits, seeped through every crevice of the icy cliffs, slicing against faces like a dull blade against flesh. The campsite was chosen beneath a slightly recessed ice wall, barely shielding against some of the wind, but the meager protection proved futile. The temperature had plummeted to an unfathomable level. Soft huddled at the center of the group, her teeth uncontrollably chattering, producing a clattering sound. She felt no cold. She had activated a pain threshold of 10, maintaining a bearable temperature. Yet, she was ravenous. Her stomach felt like an insatiable void, consuming everything within her. First, her strength diminished, then her body heat, and now, her sanity. The walls of her stomach convulsed, sending waves of sharp, piercing pain that even the most intense agony could not shield her from. She felt as though her very organs were feasting upon one another. "I am so hungry," she murmured, burying her face in her knees, her voice tinged with a quivering sob. No one attended to her. It was not a matter of indifference, but a lack of strength to respond. Kwong, leaning against the icy wall, stared vacantly into the abyss. His own stomach churned violently. The warmth from the bowl of belt soup he had consumed the previous night long since depleted. Now, only a more insatiable hunger remained. Eagle Eye shut his eyes tightly. His brow knitted in concentration as he battled his body's primal instincts with sheer willpower. Yet, the more he resisted, the clearer that hunger, which seemed poised to devour his very soul, became. The entire group was engulfed in a heavy despondence. The soldiers huddled together like a cluster of frozen quails. Only the old squad leader sat upright, leaning against his field pot, cradling his ancient rifle like an eternal statue. "Sleep," the old squad leader gently encouraged. "If you fall asleep, you will not feel hunger." "Sleep? How could one possibly sleep?" Kwong irritably raked his fingers through his hair, feeling the flames of hunger within him intensify. "Squad leader," he said with a bitter smile, "I am so hungry I could devour an entire cow. Tell me, when we cross this mountain and reach our destination, what shall we eat first?" Chapter 11. The Matchstick Seller. The old squad leader Kwong merely sought to divert his attention with a topic of conversation. The old squad leader seemed momentarily taken aback. His murky eyes roamed the darkness, as if retrieving a distant memory. After a considerable pause, he broke into a smile, revealing a set of imperfect yellowed teeth. "Noodles," he replied. A peculiar yearning resonated in the old squad leader's voice. "Noodles with meat sauce. The noodles must be crafted from freshly milled white flour, pure and elastic. They should be as wide as a belt, boiled just enough before being scooped from the pot. The sauce should be made from a mix of fatty and lean pork, diced finely, accompanied by shallots and minced ginger, then plunged into a pot of scalding oil with a sizzle." As the old squad leader spoke, he swallowed hard. His narrative was clumsy, devoid of ornate language. Yet, it was these simple words that painted a vivid picture before the eyes of all. At that moment, a warm golden halo suddenly illuminated the previously pitch-black ice wall. The world before Kwong and the others transformed. No longer was it a frigid cliff, but a steaming earthen stove. Within the stove, flames blazed brightly, casting a rosy glow upon the old squad leader's face. He was no longer the emaciated, sallow figure. Instead, he wore a clean, traditional jacket, a smile gracing his features, and held a large, chipped bowl brimming with pure white noodles. The noodles were generously adorned with a thick layer of glistening, vibrant meat sauce, sprinkled with emerald green scallions. The rich aromas of meat and noodles seemed to transcend time and space, penetrating their senses. A little girl, her hair fashioned into two playful braids and a hint of baby fat on her cheeks, bounced around the stove. "Daddy, Daddy, is my noodle ready?" she exclaimed, tilting her face up, her eyes sparkling like two black grapes, brimming with anticipation. The old squad leader awkwardly reached out with his one arm, gently ruffling his daughter's hair. All right, my dear girl, the biggest bowl for you." He smiled as he handed over the bowl. In the live streaming room, the audience momentarily froze at this scene. What is this? An illusion? Is it a special effect? Is it something from the updates by that old rascal Luo? I think I can smell something delicious. That bowl of noodles looks incredibly fragrant. Kongu was mesmerized. He gazed at the steaming bowl of noodles and instinctively reached out his hand, yearning to grasp it. Yet, his hand merely passed through a void of shimmering light. It smelled divine. The voice of the old class monitor jolted Kongu back to reality. The stove, the girl, and the hearty noodles vanished in an instant, replaced by the cold, dark rock wall. In the old class monitor's hand, there was no grand bowl, only a cup of murky, icy water melted from snow. He tilted his head back and took a sip, savoring it as if it were nectar. "So delicious," he chuckled, addressing the crowd. In that moment, tears unexpectedly welled up in Kong Ji's eyes. He was not someone prone to weeping. Yet, as he beheld the satisfied smile on the old class monitor's face and that cup of murky snow water, memories of the steaming bowl of meat noodles surged forth. An indescribable pang of sorrow and anger welled up within him. That was not a mere special effect. It was the old class monitor's dream, a humble, simple dream of making a bowl of noodles for his daughter. Yet, in this cursed snow-capped mountain, such a simple dream had morphed into an unattainable lie. He wielded this lie to stave off hunger, to uplift spirits, to deceive these children on the brink of starvation. Damn it! Kongu abruptly turned away, not wanting anyone to witness his tears. He fiercely wiped his face with the back of his hand, his voice hoarse as he addressed his streaming audience, almost as if making a vow to himself. "I swear, Once I get out of here, I will treat everyone in the server to noodles. Meat noodles. One bowl each. Unlimited. Dawn broke. A hint of pale light emerged on the horizon, and the wind and snow began to lessen. The team packed their gear in silence, preparing to set off. Following the previous night's noodle illusion, the mood among them was somber. That visible yet unattainable bowl of noodles tormented them more than any hunger could. The team began to move forward. Eagle-Eye's steps felt unsteady. He watched as the old class monitor led the way, clearing the path with his body. And a question that had long troubled him resurfaced. Eagle-Eye quickened his pace to catch up with the old class monitor. Class monitor, he said, his voice somewhat hoarse. The old class monitor turned back to glance at Eagle-Eye. I have a question, Eagle-Eye began, having learned to be clever this time. He did not directly mention being a player, but instead locked eyes with the old class monitor, articulating each word carefully. Among the newcomers, Kong Gu has a fiery temper. Roro is somewhat delicate, and I can only play a few tricks. Our physical strength is lacking, and our will is weak. Kong Gu and the others can barely manage the gun bolt. By all accounts, we are a burden to the team. Why do you not abandon us? Eagle-Eye voiced the concern that lingered in the hearts of all the players. In every game he had played, it was entirely customary to abandon the novice for the sake of the team's optimal outcome. The law of nature is survival of the fittest. The old squad leader halted his steps, prompting the entire team to come to a standstill, all eyes fixed upon the two of them. The old squad leader gazed silently at Hawkeye, his expression a complex blend of understanding and foreknowledge, as if he had anticipated such a question. Come here, he beckoned, then turned to walk towards a slightly sheltered rock. Hawkeye followed suit, with both Crazy Brother and Softy curiously trailing behind. From the innermost pocket of his tattered cotton jacket, the squad leader retrieved a small notebook wrapped in oilcloth. The notebook was quite old, its corners frayed. He carefully unwrapped the oilcloth, revealing its contents, a list. Inscribed with a brush, the characters somewhat faded. Many names were encircled in glaring red. However, what captured Hawkeye's attention was not those names, but rather the title on the cover, soaked almost entirely in blood. Roster of the Cultural Troop of the Red Army's Western Route. Hawkeye's pupils constricted. The Cultural Troop? System notification. Your character background file has been unlocked. Name, Hawkeye, codename. Identity, Propaganda Officer of the Cultural Troop of the Red Army's Western Route. Responsible for battlefield mapping and sand table simulations. After the unit was scattered, he lost his way in the snow and was taken in by the squad led by the old squad leader. Name, Crazy Brother, codename. Identity, Cook's Assistant of the Cultural Troop of the Red Army's Western Route, responsible for logistical support. Name, Softy, codename. Identity, Medic of the Cultural Troop of the Red Army's Western Route, responsible for caring for the wounded. In an instant, all logical gaps were bridged. The reason for their poor physical condition and their utter lack of combat knowledge did not concern the old squad leader in the slightest. Their gaze was always tinged with a hint of compassion, as if they were looking at children. For in the eyes of the NPCs, they were not combatants. They were part of the cultural troop. They were logistics personnel, a group of intellectuals wielding pens, scalpels, and cooking utensils. The old squad leader's gnarled fingers gently brushed over the list. Our squad set out with 12 members. Now, counting you, only 8 remain. He lifted his gaze to meet Hawkeye's, no longer looking at him as a soldier, but as something else entirely. That look was familiar to Hawkeye, reminiscent of observing a priceless, fragile artifact behind glass in a museum. I know you haven't seen much combat, the old squad leader sighed, his voice tinged with melancholy. Your hands are tender, like those of an unwed girl from the city. You likely haven't even held a hoe, let alone a rifle. But you are educated individuals. As long as you are still from our dragon nation and recognize this uniform, I cannot leave you here in the snow to be devoured by wolves. He paused, gently patting Hawkeye's shoulder with his one good arm. For us rough men, if we die, we die. A lifetime spent facing the yellow earth, with one's back to the sky, illiterate and unaware of the world. When death arrives, one is buried in the soil, leaving no trace behind. Yet, you are different. The old squad leader's gaze swept over Kwang Gu, then soft, finally resting on Eagle-Eye's face. You must survive. Only in survival can you pen our stories, craft them into plays, and sing them for future generations to hear. Let them understand why we chose this path, and how these good days came to be. Chapter 12. Oh, how I loathe this game. In that moment, Kwang Gu, Eagle-Eye, and Soft felt as though struck by lightning. In the old squad leader's world, they were not mere warriors. They were hope, the spark of life, the seeds of a civilization that must be protected, sacrificed, and sustained with their very lives. The players, including Kwang Gu, had always believed they were the heroes destined to carry the day. Yet, they realized they were the ones in need of protection. Eagle-Eye bowed his head. According to his optimal solution theory, the old squad leader should have discarded these 3 burdens and completed the mission with the remaining fighters as swiftly as possible. Yet, the old squad leader chose a path that was far from optimal but rich in humanity. Tears streamed down Soft's face once more, yet this time, she remained silent, biting her lip as the scalding tears traced their way down her cold cheeks. In the live stream, everyone was momentarily stunned by the old squad leader's words. My goodness. It has been revealed that we are but a cultural troop. I thought I was here to fight. Yet I am merely a national treasure? You must survive, so you can share our tales with future generations. Even a grown man like me felt his defenses crumble. At that moment, Kwanga suddenly lifted his head and looked at the old squad leader, speaking in a tone that was almost pleading. Leader, teach us to wield our weapons. We no longer wish to be a burden. On the fourth day, the snow-capped mountains revealed their most ferocious visage. The sky cleared, devoid of swirling snow. Blinding sunlight poured down unfiltered upon the endless expanse of snow, transforming the world into a white, hellish purgatory. The intense glare stung every eye like 1,000 needles. The team trudged along a narrow ridge, with an unfathomable abyss on the left and a steep, smooth ice wall on the right. Beneath their feet lay a snow path less than half a meter wide. Soft walked in the middle of the group, each step filled with trepidation. She dared not glance at the cliffs on either side, focusing solely on the snow beneath her feet. Yet, that snow was blindingly white under the sunlight. And after a while, it appeared as though countless red-hot needles were mercilessly piercing her eyes. Tears flowed incessantly, not from sorrow but out of physiological response. The tears fell and quickly froze in the frigid air, forming icy shards that clung to her eyelashes, obscuring her vision. She could only proceed while using her numbed hands to rub her eyes. Do not rub. The old squad leader, walking ahead, turned back and shouted, the more you rub, the worse it gets. Yet, the sensation of not rubbing was even more unbearable. Ruan felt as if a handful of scalding sand had been poured into her eye sockets, causing both pain and itchiness. Her tears flowed more profusely, and her vision began to blur. The wide expanse of snow before her splintered into countless shadows. She felt the world spinning around her. And with a sudden weakness in her legs, her body uncontrollably lurched towards the edge of the cliff. Ah! A scream pierced the silence. Ruan, Kwanga, who was trailing behind, reacted swiftly and seized Ruan's arm, pulling her back with all his might. Ruan collapsed onto the snow, her hands flailing as she covered her eyes, screaming frantically. My eyes! I can't see. Everything is black. I am blind. I am blind. Panic spread like wildfire. This was snow blindness. On this snowy mountain, a blind person was as good as a corpse. Stay calm. The squad leader's voice served as an anchor. He hurried to Ruan's side, crouched down, and forcibly pried her hands away from her eyes. Upon glancing at her, his brows furrowed tightly. Ruan's eyes were as red as two rabbits, bloodshot with dilated pupils that no longer responded to light. It's over, it's truly over. Ruan was lost in her terror of blindness, murmuring to herself, I don't want to be blind. I don't want to die here. The squad leader said nothing. He stood silently, turned around, and unbuttoned his tattered cotton jacket. With a ripping sound, he extended his one arm and forcefully tore away a piece of fabric from the lining of the jacket, a palm-sized strip that appeared relatively clean. This was the only piece of cloth on him that remained untainted by blood and grease, which he had kept close to his body. It was meant for the final dressing of the lethal wound on his arm, a lifeline. Now he tore it away. The squad leader crouched down once more, gently and carefully placing the cloth over Ruan's eyes and tying it at the back of her head. There, he said calmly, it's covered. In a couple of days, it will be fine. But I can't see. Ruan continued to weep. This game felt too real, too unbearable. Not only Ruan, but many players like her were becoming increasingly hesitant to immerse themselves further. The squad leader sighed, shook his head, and unfastened a spare piece of grass rope from his waist, tying one end around Ruan's waist. He then tightly wound the other end around his own maimed arm. At the already darkened, decaying stump, the squad leader had his companions help him tie a secure knot. After completing this, he stood up, straightened the rope, and said simply, let us go. He turned and continued forward. The rope tightened. A steady and resolute force emanated from Ruan's waist. She was involuntarily pulled up from the snow, stumbling along behind. Do not fear, the old squad leader's voice came from ahead, fragmented by the wind. As long as I do not fall, you shall not plummet. Follow the rope. At that moment, Ruan could see nothing. Her world was engulfed in darkness, save for the force transmitted through the rope around her waist. Whoa. This game is insufferable. She contemplated quitting multiple times, but recoiled from the idea of being a coward. She could only mechanically move her legs to follow the old squad leader, akin to a marionette pulled by strings. That very rope represented her sight, her lifeline. The live stream captured a close-up shot. The old squad leader trudged ahead, his back hunched. The withered yellow grass rope dug deeply into the flesh of his one remaining arm. The exertion exacerbated the already festering wound, turning it into a bloody mess. Crimson droplets fell from the rope, landing on the pristine white snow. Yet, he remained silent. His steps remained steadfast. The live stream was enveloped in silence. With everyone merely watching, they observed the one-armed man leading a blind girl by a grass rope, inching along the edge of a cliff towards an uncertain future. In a world where entertainment reigns supreme and profit takes precedence, the principle of unwavering commitment is hard to comprehend. How foolish. After a prolonged silence, a single comment slowly drifted across the screen. Today, I finally understand what it means to have a life and death bond. However, the blizzard arrived suddenly, just moments before. The skies were clear, and then, without warning, they darkened. Huge snowflakes mixed with hail were mercilessly hurled down by the raging wind. Visibility plummeted to less than a meter. The world was reduced to a vast expanse of white and the howling of the wind. Stop! Everyone halt! The old squad leader shouted hoarsely against the wind. Find shelter! Get down! Everyone down! The team immediately fell into disarray. Each person flailed like headless flies, groping through the white tempest. Kwang Gu tightly gripped Ruan, pressing her against the wind-sheltered side of a rock. Eagle Eye scrambled, wedging himself into a crack in the ice. The wind was ferocious, powerful enough to sweep a person away. Everyone exerted their utmost strength to resist this irresistible force of nature. Time lost meaning. Eventually, the wind seemed to relent slightly. The old squad leader was the first to emerge from the snowdrift, shaking off the accumulated snow before beginning to account for the group. 1, 2, 3. The expression on the old squad leader's face grew increasingly grave. Where's Old Lee? His heart sank. Where's Old Lee from the cooking team? Who has seen him? Chapter 13. As long as the pot remains. No one answered the old squad leader's inquiry. In the storm, everyone's vision was severely limited. Old Lee was the quiet figure who always trailed at the back, tasked with carrying a large iron pot. His character was taciturn, rarely speaking, only cooking a pot of stinky belt soup for everyone during their nightly camps. Now, he had suddenly vanished. Everyone, stay put. I will go find him. The old squad leader let out a roar and turned to charge back. Squad leader, don't go. Eagle Eye emerged from the icy crevice, grasping him firmly. The wind is so fierce that the footprints have vanished. Returning now is tantamount to seeking death. You want to find him. Eagle Eye's assessment was both rational and harsh. In such a blizzard, once someone falls behind, the chances of survival dwindle to nearly zero. Let go. The old squad leader violently shook off Eagle Eye's hand, his eyes reddening. That's a life. And it's our pot. Crazy brother rushed over, pushing past Eagle Eye and bellowing at him. What the hell do you understand? That's our pot. Without that pot, we can't even melt snow. Everyone will die of thirst and hunger. Eagle Eye was momentarily stunned, finally grasping the severity of the situation. Indeed, the pot, the heavy iron pot he had always deemed cumbersome, was the lifeblood of the team. I'll go with you. Crazy brother declared without hesitation, following closely behind the old squad leader. I'll go too. Little Tiger and Little Bean joined in as well. Eagle Eye gritted his teeth, ultimately trailing behind them in silence. The five formed a human chain, hands clasped, braving the wind and snow, inching their way back. Old Lee, respond. Their cries were swiftly torn apart by the howling wind. They found Old Lee in a snowdrift, or rather, they discovered the pot. The black military pot lay inverted in the snow, resembling a small grave. Old Lee's body was sprawled over the pot in an exceedingly contorted position. His hands clung desperately to the rim, his body completely frozen, melded with the ice and snow beneath him. His face bore the expression from his last moment, not of pain or fear, but of an almost stubborn determination. He had shielded the pot with his body, preventing it from being swept away by the gale. Old Lee. The old squad leader's voice trembled uncontrollably. He knelt in the snow, reaching out with one arm to pry Old Lee's hands from the pot. Yet those hands remained resolute. Crazy brother also knelt, assisting in the effort to pry them apart. His hand brushed against the bottom of the pot, and a faint, residual warmth emanated from the cold iron. The pot was still warm, yet Crazy brother's heart felt like ice. Old Lee had used his last bit of body heat to warm the pot, until his very last breath. The old squad leader ceased his attempts to pry it away. This Iron Man, who shed blood but never tears on the battlefield, now wept silently as he held Old Lee's rigid body. Their journey had been fraught with hardship, all in pursuit of a successful reunion. Eagle Eye stood to the side, staring blankly at this scene, still struggling to comprehend why a life was sacrificed for a pot, one that could only be used to boil straps or snow water. The pot remained, and so did the man, yet he couldn't fathom it. Old Lee was gone, yet the pot remained. That heavy iron pot lay like a silent monument, quietly resting in the snow. It was also akin to a hot potato. Who would carry it? The old squad leader had already shouldered a rifle, a backpack, and was also leading the soft one. Xiao Hu and Xiao Duzi were too young and frail to bear such weight. The remaining soldiers had reached the limits of their endurance. Each individual cast a complex gaze upon the heavy pot, a symbol of both hope and burden. Amidst the silence, Kwang Gu stepped forth. He uttered no words, but approached, bending down to lift the heavy iron pot from the snow, attempting to sling it onto his back. He found it heavier than he had anticipated. Coupled with the weight of his own backpack, he staggered under the load, nearly collapsing to the ground. You can't do it. Eagle Eye interjected, extending a hand to assist. You're already overloaded. I can. Kwang Gu forcefully pushed Eagle Eye away, veins bulging from his neck. With reddened eyes, he growled. I'm built tough. I can withstand the cold. Gritting his teeth, he summoned every ounce of strength and finally secured the pot, along with the ice and snow clinging to it, firmly onto his back. System notification. You have equipped the marching pot, Old Lee's legacy. Status, overloaded. Effects, movement speed 30, stamina consumption rate 50, temperature loss rate 20. Special aura, passive hope of hot meals. You will become the mobile campfire for the team, providing a slight morale boost of 10 to friendly units within a 5-meter radius. Aura description, As long as the pot remains, we can sip on warm water. A series of debuff notifications illuminated Kwang Gu's vision. His health bar began to decline slowly, but he remained indifferent. He straightened his back, adjusting the straps to ensure the icy pot pressed snugly against his back. Turning around, he shouted to the still stunned companions, "What the hell are you all dawdling for? Let us move." With that, he took his first heavy step forward. Each stride felt like wading through the depths of the ocean, the snow rising above his knees. The iron pot weighed down upon him like a mountain, leaving him breathless, his lungs ablaze with pain. Yet he pressed on, recalling the clear eyes of Xiao Hu as he fell into the icy crevice. The bowl of meat sauce noodles spun from lies by the old squad leader. And Old Li, the silent cook who had protected this pot with his life. "I cannot stop. I must not stop. As long as the pot exists, hope remains." Eagle Eye observed Kwang Ji's swaying yet resolutely determined figure, and after a moment of silence, he walked to Kwang Ji's left side. Soft also reached out, finding her way to his right. Although she could not see, she could hear the heavy footsteps. The two of them, one on each side, extended their hands to steady Kwang Gu's arms. "Get away." Kwang Gu growled, "I don't need anyone's help." "Be quiet." Eagle Eye replied succinctly, "Conserve your strength." Softly added, "We're just trying to help you bear a little of the load." Kwang Gu ceased speaking, gritting his teeth as he continued forward. The three of them moved together, resembling a clumsy, mobile fortress, struggling through the wind and snow. The live stream room erupted with fervor, the barrage of comments going wild. "Kwang Gu is incredible. Now this is a real man. I take back my previous insults directed at him. From this moment forth, you are not merely Kwang Gu, but my brother, my dear brother." The viewers, including Ingyan and Wan Xuan, began to grasp the gravity of the situation. I was merely watching a gaming live stream. Yet my blood surged with excitement. I wished to lend him a hand. 3 Supreme Tomato special effects exploded across the screens of Wan Xuan and her companions. The ID belonging to Wan Xuan's top supporter sent 3 identical comments. "Wan Xuan, Ingyan, you are fantastic. Kwang Gu, what you carry is not a burden, but the responsibility of a true man. Luan Studio, I implore you to let them have a sip of warm water." The barrage of comments from the 3 main live rooms gradually began to respond, and gifts flooded the screen. At that moment, they all stood by Kwang Gu, the blonde-haired streamer, supporting him as he bore the iron pot that symbolized life and death, traversing the endless snowy path. The altitude surpassed 4,000 meters. The air growing thin and frigid. An invisible pressure enveloped each individual. The symptoms of altitude sickness emerged. Ingyan felt a throbbing pain in his temples, akin to 2 steel needles simultaneously piercing through, inducing waves of nausea. The relentless high-pitched buzzing drowned out the sound of the wind. Kwang Ji's condition was deteriorating. The excessive burden, coupled with oxygen deprivation, rendered each breath a struggle akin to operating a decrepit bellows. His lips had turned a shade of deep purple, and dark spots began to cloud his vision. However, it was Wan Xuan who first succumbed to despair. The darkness of snow blindness, coupled with hallucinations from lack of oxygen, obliterated her mental defenses. Cotton candy. Wan Xuan suddenly collapsed to the ground, scooping handfuls of snow and stuffing them into her mouth. Sweet as cotton candy. Chapter 14. Lies are more merciful than truth. Wan Xuan's voice was muddled, laced with a peculiar sense of satisfaction. She then began to tear at the thin, tattered cotton coat she wore. Hot, so hot. A strange flush appeared on her frozen, purplish face, indicating the onset of severe hypothermia. "Damn it." Kwang Gu rushed over, gripping her wildly flailing hands tightly. "Are you out of your mind? Put it on. Quickly, put it on." Yet, caught in a frenzy of delusion, Wan Xuan possessed an astonishing strength. She thrashed like a fish out of water in the snow, muttering about warmth. Ingyan rushed to assist, witnessing the vacant look in Wan Xuan's eyes and the unnatural redness on her face. His voice trembled, forgetting that this was merely a game. Her central nervous system was in chaos, feverishly disordered. She felt as though she were inside a furnace. The audience in the live stream watched helplessly as Wan Xuan's health bar plummeted like a waterfall. "Damn it. Luo, you scoundrel. How can you be so cruel? Don't let her die. I beg you." Kwang Ji's eyes turned red as he shouted into Wan Xuan's ear, "Wan Xuan, wake up. For heaven's sake, wake up." It was futile. Wan Xuan's struggles weakened, and her health bar dipped to the red line, at 10. Just when everyone believed her fate was sealed, the old squad leader rushed forward. He neither shouted nor pressed anyone. He merely crouched down and, with utmost reverence, retrieved a small package wrapped in oiled paper from the pocket closest to his heart. The paper, warmed by his body temperature, was slightly damp, and its edges were worn and frayed. With his solitary arm, the old squad leader carefully peeled away the layers of oiled paper. Inside were only a few grayish-white crystals, scarcely larger than grains of rice. It was coarse salt, more precious than gold on this snow-covered mountain. It represented the last glimmer of hope for all of them to replenish their strength. Without a moment's hesitation, the old squad leader pinched a grain with his fingernail and brought it gently to the lips of the soft one, his voice hoarse yet tender. "Soft one, do not fuss. Open your mouth. The squad leader has some sugar for you." "Is it sugar?" The soft one paused, turning towards the old squad leader with a childlike confusion. He nodded and gently placed the grain of salt into her mouth. The sweetest candy. The bitter, salty taste exploded on her taste buds, but in her hallucination, it transformed into an indescribable sweetness, a warm current dispelling the burning heat within her. She quieted down, ceasing her struggles and tearing at her clothes. Instead, she lay in the snow, akin to a child satisfied with a piece of candy, smacking her lips. So sweet. The soft 1S health bar halted at the brink of critical condition, then began to ascend at an exceedingly slow pace, one segment at a time. The old squad leader gazed at her, a flicker of pity flashing through his murky eyes. He poured the remaining grains of salt from the oiled paper into her mouth. Eat slowly, there's more. After doing all this, he meticulously folded the now empty oiled paper and tucked it back into his bosom, as if it still contained some treasure. Kwang Gun knelt in the snow, watching this scene. A lump of burning coal lodged in his throat. Ing Yin turned his head away, his shoulders quivering slightly. In the live stream, the barrage of comments had come to a standstill. After a long while, a comment slowly drifted through. I retract my earlier insults toward old Luo. I'm sorry. In this moment, I would rather believe it was sugar. Oh, this benevolent lie is more merciful than any truth. The wind and snow seemed to lessen slightly. The team resumed their journey. The soft 1S eyes were still covered with a cloth, led by the old squad leader with a grass rope. She remained quiet, occasionally licking her lips, savoring the lingering sweetness. Whether it was Kwang Gu, Ing Yin, or the comments in the soft one's live stream, all tacitly concealed the truth. The soft one had survived, yet they had irrevocably severed their supply of salt. Shortly thereafter, the eagle-eyed leader, walking at the forefront, suddenly halted. He raised his hand, pointing to a pile of snow shaped oddly by the wind, and snow not far ahead, his voice dry. Squad leader, what is that? The others followed his gaze. Beneath the veil of snow and wind, dozens of dark figures stood motionless in the snow, resembling a line of eerie roadblocks. The team came to a stop. All eyes were warily fixed on the dark silhouettes standing resolutely amidst the swirling snow and wind. Were they enemies? Xiaohu instinctively tightened his grip on his firearm. The old squad leader squinted for a moment, then shook his head. No, he intoned, his voice deep and resonant. They are our own. The old squad leader took the lead, stepping first towards the shadowy figures. Kwang Gu and Ing Yin followed closely behind, advancing step by step. As they drew nearer, the shapes became clearer. They were not mere snowdrifts or obstacles, but soldiers maintaining their marching stance. Some leaned on their rifles, their bodies slightly hunched, seemingly on the verge of taking a step. Others were bent over, struggling against the wind. A few huddled together, supporting one another as they gazed towards the direction of their advance. They were blanketed in snow, blending seamlessly with the surrounding landscape, resembling silent ice sculptures. Kwang Ji's legs suddenly felt weak. The heavy iron pot strapped to his back seemed to lose all its weight in that moment. He gazed at one of the ice sculptures, a young warrior, still bearing traces of youth. His mouth was slightly agape, as if silently shouting. His eyes were fixed straight ahead, devoid of fear, radiating a resolute determination that pierced through the storm. Ing Yin stepped forward, extending his hand to touch the shoulder of one of the ice figures. The instant his fingertip grazed the fragile surface of the thin ice, the entire sculpture shattered with a crash. They disintegrated into a pile of powder, indistinguishable from the swirling snow. Don't touch. The old squad leader barked, halting in front of the row of ice figures. The wind howled fiercely, stinging their faces and further dampening their spirits. Yet, these soldiers stood firm, erecting themselves as a barrier against the tempest. They are our advance party. The old squad leader's voice betrayed no sorrow or joy. Exhausted and clad in worn garments, they had simply succumbed to slumber. In sleep, they had not fallen. Softly. She could not see them, but she could hear the profound silence enveloping her. She clenched the grass rope at her waist and quietly inquired, "What is wrong with the squad leader?" He did not respond, merely adjusting his tattered military attire, straightening his collar and fastening his buttons. Then he stepped back. At this altitude of over 4,000 meters, atop a snow-capped mountain where even birds dared not venture, he saluted the row of silent ice figures with a perfectly executed military gesture using his remaining arm. The wind howled, yet his voice rang clear. "Brothers, it's time to change shifts. We shall continue the journey for you." After speaking, he lowered his arm and turned to the stunned crowd behind him. "Let us move." Silence enveloped them. Kwang Gu bent down, readjusting the straps of the iron pot on his back, gritting his teeth as he followed suit. The weight of the pot pressed heavily against his spine. He had reached his limit. Each step felt like treading on the edge of a blade. Yet now, he felt no fatigue. Ing Yin glanced down at the worn Hanyang rifle in his hands. It remains elusive to comprehend the true intentions of this group. Their unyielding sacrifices and a will that transcends life and death surpass his understanding of the world. The parallel universe of the Dragon Kingdom appears to be entirely dissimilar to theirs, even leading Eagle Eye to perceive that the parallel world designed by the old rascal, Luo, is rather foolish. Yet, gazing at the stooped yet resolute figure of the old squad leader, and the silhouettes eternally standing amidst the wind and snow, Eagle Eye finds himself on the brink of tears. In the live broadcast room, this poignant scene, captured through the lenses of 3 prominent streamers, echoed throughout the internet. There was no commentary, No music, only the howling wind and the hoarse voice of the one-armed veteran. Brothers, it's time to change shifts. Countless viewers from the Blue Star Dragon Kingdom, whether nestled in luxurious apartments or crammed in modest rental rooms, whether indulging in snacks or sipping on joy-inducing beverages, unconsciously set aside their possessions in that moment. Many instinctively rose from their sofas and gaming chairs, mimicking the one-armed veteran's gesture, offering a perhaps imperfect yet heartfelt salute to the screen. "I can't believe I'm saluting when I'm just a gamer," one viewer lamented in a comment, his tone tinged with tears. "I don't know why, but my hand moved." "Me too." 1100086. Luo, I was wrong. I would give this game a 10,000 out of 10, and I'm not afraid of your pride. That day, a screenshot went viral across the entire social network of the Blue Star. The image depicted a one-armed warrior saluting a row of ice sculptures, accompanied by a simple caption, "Brothers, it's time to change shifts." Chapter 15, Seeking the Lost Backbone in the Metropolis of Magic City, atop the Goose Factory. Can someone explain how this intensely crimson line came to be? Operating Director Wang Chi pointed at the heat curve of Red Expedition, his voice barely containing his fury. "Our star C domination, with an investment of 300 million, 3 acclaimed actors endorsing it, and a comprehensive online promotional campaign. Yet it is overshadowed by a makeshift studio whose address is untraceable." Within the conference room, the leading planners of Goose Factory fell into a profound silence until someone finally spoke. "Director Wang, this essentially constitutes an emotional scam. This game capitalizes on masochism and curiosity, exploiting players' fatigue with traditional pleasure-driven games. Players weep because they have been tormented. It is a base stimulation of dopamine." "Indeed," the lead artist interjected, pointing at the ragged NPCs on the screen, whose models were merely generic assets and whose lighting was default. "The sole highlight is the grotesque implementation of the pain system." Wang Chi scoffed, "I do not care how you perceive it. Ensure you learn from this. Project Codename Winter must launch within a week. Let them experience the torment before the pleasure. Show them what true commercial logic entails. Imitation and exploiting players' wallets are Goose Factory's specialties." The influence of Red Expedition spreads like wildfire, piercing the barrier between the virtual and the real. Within a certain police station, a rebellious youth with dyed yellow hair pointed at the live streaming room of a certain host and earnestly addressed the officer. "Uncle, I have shaved my head. Compared to the old squad leader, I was once a mere, unweaned waste. I do not wish to disappoint him." At the dining table, a girl on a diet, who had never consumed carbohydrates, cried as she devoured 2 large bowls of white rice. "Mom, the old squad leader and his team have nothing to eat. I cannot waste this." These seemingly absurd social news stories finally stirred the cultural department of the Dragon Kingdom. Retired official Qin Jinghua sat in a rattan chair, peering through his reading glasses at his grandson's tablet. On the screen, the one-armed old squad leader was guiding the blind softy with a grass rope. Perilously inching along the edge of a cliff, the host, burdened with a massive black pot, had transformed himself into a monument amidst the wind and snow. There was also the ice sculpture, frozen in a charging posture at an altitude of 4,000 meters, persisting until death. Qin Jinghua's hands began to tremble violently, his aged eyes welling with murky tears. The indistinct faces of NPCs gradually merged with the memories of his comrades who had perished in the mud. "Grandpa, this game is too cruel," his grandson murmured softly. "Be quiet." Qin Jinghua straightened his back abruptly. In that instant, he felt as if he had returned to the battlefield of his youth. "This is not a game." The elderly man shakily raised his hand, reaching through the screen to touch the black pot. "This is the soul." That afternoon, an op-ed article authored by Qin Jinghua unexpectedly appeared on the front page of the official media of the Dragon Kingdom, prominently featured online under the title "In the Virtual Snowstorm, Seeking Our Lost Spine." The article was brief, yet resonated profoundly. "In this era of material abundance but spiritual desolation, we worship capital and traffic. It is heartening to see someone willing to guide the youth in the virtual snowstorm to rediscover that spine which is becoming soft. It is painful and bitter, yet it can help us stand tall once more." This commentary instantly stirred a wave of reactions. Though not explicitly stated, everyone understood whom it referred to. This effectively served as an official cultural endorsement for Crimson Expedition. Those who had intended to attack the game on grounds of bloodshed, violence, and distorted values were silenced in an instant. Who would dare to assault a game deemed by the authorities as a quest for spine? That would be courting disaster. Luoan, too, gazed at the article in silence for a long while, surprised that such attention had arrived so soon. However, this was a positive development. The emotional value surged once more, finally allowing him to unlock certain features he desired. Old Squad Leader Deep Memory Retrieval Fragment, Daughter's Arc, successfully exchanged. Description: unlock the deepest memories and emotional logic of this NPC, transforming him from a mere AI with behavioral patterns into a projection with a complete past and future. He will truly remember his daughter's smiling face, and he will genuinely long for that bowl of non-existent meat sauce noodles. Pain Resonance System, Beginner, successfully exchanged. Luoan's gaze turned toward the team struggling through the snowstorm within the game. The summit of the snowy mountain lay just ahead. As the altitude increased, the air grew increasingly thin, and the pace of the team resembled that of a sluggish snail. Each individual felt as though their lungs were akin to a ruptured bellows, struggling to draw in sufficient oxygen, no matter how fervently they inhaled. The old squad leader trailed at the rear, his steps becoming increasingly unsteady. His one remaining arm hung feebly by his side, the tattered fabric of his cotton coat saturated with a dark, viscous liquid, putrid blood. As the elevation rose and the atmospheric pressure diminished, the wound he had long suppressed by sheer willpower finally ruptured. A bacterial infection, compounded by intense physical exertion, left the old leader's body unable to endure any longer. Waves of scorching heat and piercing cold alternately clashed within him, and he began to succumb to a high fever. Gritting his teeth, he endeavored to conceal his condition from the others. He did not wish to become a burden to the team. Falling a few steps behind, he surreptitiously grabbed a handful of snow, hastily wiping away the black blood seeping from his wound. The icy snow provided a fleeting respite from the searing pain, yet it was but a desperate measure. Suddenly, the keen-eyed scout halted, frowning as he inhaled deeply. A faint, nauseating odor mingled in the air. He abruptly turned, his gaze fixated on the old squad leader at the back of the line, and the disturbing dark red-black stains in the snow beneath his feet. His pupils constricted, and he dashed back, disregarding the leader's protests as he seized the leader's severed arm. The touch was alarmingly hot. "Leader, you have a fever," he exclaimed, his voice cracking with concern. He hastily pulled aside the leader's coat, exposing the ghastly wound to the air. The entirety of the severed arm was now a deep black, with surrounding flesh grotesquely inverted, oozing foul, purulent blood. My God! The approaching crazy brother was taken aback, his scalp prickling in shock. How had the old leader, in such a dire state, managed to lead them this far in silence? "It's nothing," the leader attempted to dismiss, pushing the scout away as he sought to cover his wound once more, his voice faint like a flickering candle in the wind. "It's just an old ailment. I'll be fine after a moment's rest. You all go ahead, I will catch up shortly." Chapter 16. Will spring be revealed beyond this turn? This was a universally understood lie about death. On this snow-capped mountain, resting equated to an eternal slumber. The keen-eyed scout fell silent. The optimal approach to a dying, incapacitated NPC was to abandon them. Carrying the old leader would only jeopardize the entire team. This had been the scout's original thought. Yet he had since transformed and would not so easily concede defeat. But what was the worth of transformation? He had already witnessed the gray notification that the system had triggered. System alert. The old squad leader has entered a state of near death. To the scout, this was a narrative execution, the most merciless of rules within the game. Any effort would be futile in the face of such a narrative twist. Just then, a thunderous roar reverberated across the ridge, shattering the silence. Kong's eyes were bloodshot, resembling an enraged bull. With a fierce motion, he slammed the heavy iron pot from his back onto the ground, producing a resounding clang. He pointed at the old squad leader and bellowed each word with fervor. "No one is leaving. Listen to me. It was my negligence that allowed Xiao Hu to fall. This pot belongs to Lao Li, and now it rests upon my back. If you dare to perish before me again, I shall leap from here and follow you to the grave." His words, though disjointed, conveyed unwavering determination. The old squad leader gazed at Kong with astonishment, a complex mix of gratitude and pride flickering in his eyes. These recruits were unlike any before. Kong approached the old squad leader, bending down without hesitation to lift the man, who once stood as steadfast as a mountain, but now felt as light as a mere twig, onto his own back. System warning. You have entered an overload X2 state. Warning. Your health is rapidly declining. If you do not immediately discard your burden, you will perish within 60 seconds. The vivid red warnings consumed Kong's vision. The intense warmth of the old squad leader's body, even through layers of clothing, pressed against his back. Yet, despite his body nearing its breaking point, Kong gritted his teeth and straightened up. He then turned to face the stunned eyes of Eagle Eye and the soldiers, roaring, "What are you staring at? I will carry him up there too. Move out." With that declaration, he took a step forward, a movement that seemed to drain every ounce of his strength. The snow beneath his feet sunk deeply where he tread. In the live stream, viewers erupted in frenzy. "Kong, no. This is a scripted death. You cannot save him. You will die? You will perish alongside him. Wow. I've never seen a player brave enough to defy the system. This is what being a man truly means." Eagle Eye observed Kong's precarious stance, unwavering despite the odds, and the semi-conscious old squad leader slumped upon his back. Even the typically rational Eagle Eye felt tears welling in his eyes. To hell with optimal solutions, to hell with scripted deaths. Silently, he stepped forward, discarding everything from his backpack save for a rifle and a few rounds. He positioned himself beside Kong, extending his hand to support one of the old squad leader's legs. Sharing the burden. "Shut up," Eagle Eye said succinctly to the still raging Kong. "Conserve your strength." Kong ceased his shouting, instead managing a smile that was more painful than tears. All right. At an altitude of 800 meters, the snowy mountain pass lay ahead, yet the final few hundred meters loomed like an insurmountable chasm before them. The air was thin, as though it had been siphoned away. With every step they took, they had to pause, bending over, hands resting on their knees, gasping for breath like fish out of water for 5 long minutes. Kong bore the old squad leader on his back, while Eagle Eye supported him alongside. Together, they formed a moving fortress, inching their way toward the summit. The only sounds in Kwang Ji's ears, apart from the whispering wind, were the heavy breaths of his old squad leader. One was deep, the other light. One rushed, the other calm. It was as if two hearts were beating simultaneously within his body. His soft eyes gradually regained some clarity, allowing him to discern faint glimmers of light and shadow. She neither wept nor wailed, but clung desperately to the grass rope entwined around the old squad leader's arm. Even though the old squad leader had lapsed into unconsciousness, and the other end of the rope was held by Ying Yin, she refused to let go. For at the other end of the rope, that mountain-like man was burning through his own life. Suddenly, the old squad leader, slumped on Kwang Ji's back, erupted into a fit of violent coughing. It seemed he had regained a semblance of consciousness, a fleeting moment of clarity. He began to speak incoherently, under the newly activated deep memory recall filter of Luoan. The old squad leader's ramblings transformed from indistinct syllables into poignant fragments imbued with strong emotion. Water is boiling, Wan, bring the noodles over. I'll make you a wide serving. Before Kwang Gu and the others, the vision of a steaming bowl of meat sauce noodles reappeared. Yet this time, the smile on the old squad leader's face bore a hint of weariness. Rest assured, Company Commander, I have led the team to safety. It was that Zhao kid. He didn't manage to hold on to me. I am sorry. The illusion shattered. The old squad leader's voice reverted to the frail reality. He lay on Kwang Ji's back, straining to lift his head and gaze toward the mountain peak ahead. Kwang Gu. The old squad leader called out. Hey, I'm here. Kwang Gu immediately responded. If we can just get over this mountain, will we see spring? The old squad leader's voice brimmed with childlike anticipation. Kwang Gu halted, opening his mouth. Spring? Beyond the mountain lay more mountains, an endless expanse of white desolation that stretched as far as the eye could see. Where was spring? Ying Yan, observing the system panel, noted the old squad leader's status bar had turned entirely black, alongside the incessantly flashing warning of life signs diminishing. He sorrowfully concluded that the old squad leader's physiological metrics had fallen below the minimum threshold required to sustain life. Perhaps he truly would not reach the summit. Yet, this statement ignited a frenzy in all the live streaming rooms. Luo Laozue, come out. I'll kill you. If you dare to kill off the old squad leader, I swear I'll track down your studio's address and send you razor blades every day until you go bankrupt. I refuse to believe it. There must be a hidden ending. There must be a way to save him. Please don't let him die before spring arrives. Countless gifs exploded on the screen, and countless viewers wept inconsolably. For the first time, they felt a profound hatred for the identity of the player, realizing that apart from watching helplessly, they could do nothing. Kwang Gu could not hear the wails from the live stream. He only heard the old squad leader's hopeful words about spring. Kwang Gu fell silent for a few seconds, then suddenly broke into a smile, mustering all his strength to force it out. His voice, hoarse and strained from both hypoxia and excitement, was almost unrecognizable. Yes, Captain, rest assured. Just turn over, and it will be spring. There will be flowers. There will be grass. A vast plain adorned with blooming rapeseed flowers. And your daughter, she is waiting for you on the other side of the mountain. She awaits you to prepare that largest bowl of meat sauce noodles for her. Chapter 17. He was far heavier than that pot. With a roar, just turn over. And it will be spring. The breath seemed to explode from his lungs. He dared not pause. If he did, the breath would dissipate. Eagle Eye followed closely behind. His gaze locked onto the top of Crazy Brother's head. There, the health bar, which once represented the player's vitality, had long turned dark red, flashing with the warnings of imminent death. The stamina gauge? It was devoid of any remnants. At this moment, what sustained Crazy Brother's weary body in motion was an invisible gray data bar, burning fiercely within. Willpower, overloaded 120130. Eagle Eye, unable to perceive the overloaded willpower bar, felt a sense of disbelief. According to the underlying logic of this damned game, once stamina reached zero, the pain suppression would fail, and the player's brain would trigger a protective mechanism to forcibly log off. Yet, Crazy Brother continued to move. He resembled a decrepit, rusted tractor, each bend of his knee accompanied by the unsettling creaking of grinding bones. The weight of the old captain bore down entirely on his spine, bending it like a bough on the verge of snapping. Eagle Eye could no longer bear to watch. He even suspected that in the next moment, Crazy Brother's spine would fracture, piercing the skin and protruding outwards. I'll help support you. Eagle Eye stepped forward, extending his hand to prop up the old captain's dangling leg. The moment his fingers made contact, they jolted. It was scorching hot. The old captain's high fever radiated through the tattered, grease-stained cotton pants, searing Eagle Eye's palm like a coal ember. In stark contrast, the old captain's arm, which hung limply from Crazy Brother's shoulder, was swollen and bruised, fingers rigidly curled, their tips as cold as flesh drawn from a freezer. This was the true harbinger of death, core boiling with heat, extremities freezing cold. Life was swiftly ebbing from this battered body. Just then, the seemingly lifeless figure on Crazy Brother's back stirred slightly. The old captain, in a haze, began to awaken. His murky eyes struggled to open a slit, sensing the violent jolting beneath him and the heavy, labored breaths of crazy brother, reminiscent of a bellows. Though lacking in education, the old captain understood one truth. On the snowy mountain, whoever carries whom must perish. Let me down. His voice was as faint as smoke, dissipating before it could fully escape his lips. His body began to writhe on crazy brother's back, a desperate struggle for survival. He was like a fish destined for the pot, thrashing with all his might to slide down, yearning to plunge into the snowbank beside them. I want to leave. I'll rest here. You go on. Rest my ass. Crazy brother could scarcely muster the strength to shout, the words forced out through clenched teeth, tinged with blood. Feeling the commotion from the burden on his back, crazy brother's patience frayed. As the center of gravity shifted, he lost his footing, and his knee struck heavily against a sharp ice rock. The pain was excruciating. Yet, he did not release his grip. Instead, he tightened his hold on the old squad leader's leg. Don't move. Stay still. The expression on Kwang Ji's face was fierce, his visage adorned with frozen ice shards. Resembling a beast ready to devour its prey. He had just promised to treat me to noodles, and now, before we even arrived, he contemplated skipping out on the bill? Not a chance. After scolding him, Kwang Gu freed one hand, his movements brutally rough as he seized the old squad leader's hand, which dangled in the air, frozen and stiff like a popsicle. Then, he made a gesture that made Ng Yen's eyes ache. Kwang Gu forcefully shoved the frostbitten, grimy hand into the collar of his neck, the only warm spot on his body. The chill of the lifeless flesh pressed against his scorching neck made Kwang Gu shiver involuntarily, but he did not flinch. Instead, he tucked his neck in and clamped down with his chin to prevent the hand from slipping out. Hold on tight. If you fall, it's not my responsibility. The old squad leader ceased his struggles, his face, weathered by the elements, twitched slightly. Even though the hand tucked within Kwang Ji's collar was frozen stiff, it instinctively recoiled from the warmth, attempting to withdraw. But Kwang Gu held it firmly. Just ahead lay the pass. To divert the old squad leader's attention, Kwang Gu began to babble loudly, his voice hoarse and grating. Squad leader, did you see? The wind over there is warm. I can smell it. Really. It's the scent of rapeseed flowers. Once we get over, we'll roll in the flower fields. We'll bring your precious daughter to ride on horseback. The lie was painfully transparent. The only thing surrounding them was the biting wind and snow. Where could there be warmth? Where were the rapeseed flowers? Ng Yen observed Kwang Ji's desperate attempt to keep the old squad leader engaged and took a deep breath. To hell with reason, to hell with logic. Ng Yen retrieved the already cracked glass compass from his waist and pretended to examine it, his tone calm as though delivering a weather report. Squad leader, yes, right. As a surveyor, I've just calculated it. Based on the airflow direction and changes in air pressure, once we cross this pass, the elevation will drop by 500 meters, and the temperature will rise by 15 degrees. Moreover, according to terrain analysis, there's an 80% probability of alpine meadows and small villages on the leeward slope. Ng Yen earnestly fabricated nonsense, leveraging the professional identity bestowed upon him by the game to weave a non-existent scientific rationale. The old squad leader lacked the strength to speak, merely fluttering his eyelids slightly, as if he were listening. Just then, the soft and blindfolded girl, who had been led along, suddenly halted. Though she could not see, her heart was clearer than anyone else's. She abruptly turned her head forward and took a deep breath through her frostbitten, reddened nose. Really? Her voice still carried that characteristic lisp, but it was no longer aimed at pleasing the top brother. It was now filled with a tremor of surprise. I can smell it too. It's so fragrant. Squad leader, can you smell it? It's the scent of fried sugar cakes. Softly, the lips, purple from the cold, trembled, yet a radiant smile illuminated the face, tears soaking the blindfold. And the pork cracklings. I yearn for the taste of pork cracklings. Little Doozy also reacted. This NPC warrior, who had always trailed behind the older siblings, wiped his nose with his hand and pointed towards the vast expanse of white void, exclaiming loudly, Squad leader. I see smoke. There's a chimney over there. They must be cooking. I see it too, shouted Xiao Hu. A group of individuals was fabricating tales, striving to coax one last breath from a dying veteran amidst the desolation of the snow-capped mountains, crafting an entire spring merely with their words. The old squad leader, resting on Kwang Ji's back, listened to these abysmally poor lies. Perhaps he believed them, or perhaps he did not. Yet, the hand he had tucked inside Kwang Gu's collar no longer retracted. His murky eyes narrowed slightly, and the corners of his mouth genuinely curled into a faint smile. His expression resembled that of a grandparent observing their mischievous child, reluctant to expose the ruse. All right, the squad leader's voice was faint, yet imbued with a peculiar serenity. We must reach the final 100 meters. Here lay the windward point, the last threshold set by nature's cruel hand. The fierce gale acted as an invisible wall, pushing them backward. With a person on his back, Kwang Gu's center of gravity was precariously high, rendering him unstable. Moments ago, he could manage a shaky walk. Now, he could only crawl. Thud. Kwang Ji's knees buckled, kneeling in the snow. Yet he did not fall, his hands pressed firmly against the ground, like a stubborn bull. Seeing this, Ng Yen immediately collapsed on Kwang Ji's left side, using his shoulder to brace Kwang Gu's body, acting as a support. Softly, to the right. Ng Yen shouted, coming. Although Softly could not see, she felt her way along the grass rope and, with her frail form, steadied Kwang Ji's right side. The three of them, along with the old squad leader on Kwang Ji's back, resembled an awkward crab or a moving mass of flesh. Inching upward on the steep 70-degree slope, blood seeped from Kwang Ji's battered knees, leaving ghastly red trails across the pristine snow. Each meter traversed seemed to exact the toll of half a life. Kwang Ji's consciousness began to blur. He sensed the old squad leader growing lighter on his back, as delicate as a feather, ready to drift away at any moment. This sensation filled him with dread. Even if this were merely a game, he began to mutter nervously, as if his voice could summon the old squad leader's spirit back. Don't sleep, oldly. We've carried your pot all this way. You can't back out now. We're almost there, truly. Don't let your old bones slip away. I can't afford to compensate for that. Closer, even nearer. Through the swirling wind and snow, the iconic boulder at the pass came into view. Just a little further. At the moment Kwang Ji's fingers were about to touch the rock, a chilling notification abruptly flashed across everyone's retinas. Warning, core NPC old squad leader's life signs are about to reach 0. Warning, due to extreme exhaustion and hypothermia. The countdown has commenced. Chapter 18. The journey of healing begins with a single step. The crimson countdown loomed like a Damocles sword suspended before his eyes. The world before Kwang Gu had blurred into an incomprehensible haze. His lungs were devoid of oxygen, consumed by flames. Each breath felt akin to swallowing searing coals. Move. For heaven's sake, move. He screamed internally, yet his leg felt as though it were severed, unresponsive to his commands. His knee scraped against the snow, the worn-out cotton pants providing no semblance of protection. With every slight movement, he could feel the patella grinding against the unforgiving ice, producing a brittle crack. Blood mingled with the snow, trailing behind him like a horrific crimson streak. Do not look at the time. The voice of Eagle Eye rang in his ears, desperately suppressing the chaos and despair. In that moment, he resembled a madman, bracing his shoulder against Kwang Ji's ribs with all his might. Focus on your feet, even if it's just a centimeter. Push forward. Eagle Eye's own feet slipped as his stamina had long since depleted. What burned now was the last vestige of dignity as a human being. Soft, unable to see anything, could only rely on the tension of the grass rope. Using her frail back to support Kwang Ji's right side with all her strength. Give me strength, my babies, she found herself praying to the audience in the livestream. Her once meticulously adorned face was now marred by frostbite and tears, yet she appeared more warrior-like than ever. The old class leader, draped across Kwang Ji's back, was gradually succumbing to the cold. This chill was not from the snowflakes, but a deathly stillness emanating from the marrow. Only the hand tucked into Kwang Ji's collar retained a trace of borrowed warmth, resting against his carotid artery. Kwang Gu sensed the life ebbing from his back, fear tightening his heart. Don't die, please. Kwang Gu, the rugged man known for his foul mouth and defiance, now had tears and snot smeared across his face. Old man, you cannot die. You promised me you'd cook noodles. You deceitful NPCs. Get me up. Just 5 more meters. They had reached the pinnacle of the pass, where the wind howled with ferocity. The gales felt like an invisible wall, threatening to hurl these audacious ants into the abyss. Little Doozy and Little Who rushed forward. The 2 half-grown children each grasped a leg of the class leader, one pulling the left, the other the right. Class leader, we're pushing you, Little Doozy shouted, his face turning an alarming shade of purple. 5 of them resembled a bizarre and tragic conjoined twin, launching their final charge in this white hell. The boulder loomed ahead. If they could navigate around it, they would find a wind-sheltered slope. Kwang Ji's consciousness began to dissipate. He could no longer discern the path, only mechanically repeating the motions of lifting his leg, pressing down, and shuffling forward. 1 step, 2 steps. The system's red alarm had consumed his entire field of vision. The piercing beep threatening to shatter his skull. Warning, vital signs critically weak. Warning, player is nearing loss of consciousness. With a thunderous roar, the madman expended every ounce of his vitality, even draining his very soul, and lunged forward with ferocity. In that fleeting moment, amidst a world ensnared by ice and snow, everyone was propelled by inertia, forcefully creating a breach. Suddenly, the world fell silent. The howling wind, which seemed intent on tearing one apart, ceased abruptly. The madman crashed heavily to the ground, yet he felt no pain, for the sun had graced him with its presence. A beam of golden, warm, and long-awaited sunlight pierced through the dense clouds, resembling a golden sword, striking directly into the snowy pass. Following that, the clouds churned and scattered like defeated soldiers fleeing in disarray. The relentless storm ceased. Had they truly survived? Eagle Eye lay on the ground, gasping for breath, his chest heaving violently. He stared at the beam of light, momentarily entranced. Softly, he pulled aside a strip of cloth that had covered his eyes. The blinding light made him tear up, yet he squinted, gazing dreamily at the golden spot. They had lived. In the live stream, countless viewers slumped in their chairs, drenched in cold sweat, as if they themselves had just traversed a snow-capped mountain. The madman, neglecting his own fatigue, scrambled to his feet, using all limbs to rise, and hastily began to untie the grass rope binding him to the old class leader. Throughout the journey, he had feared that the old leader might fall, binding their fates together tightly. Class leader, Wake up. We've arrived. We made it. The madman's voice trembled. He carefully set the old leader down, allowing him to lean against a massive rock that shielded them from the wind. The old leader's face was ashen, resembling parchment. His lips devoid of color, a true portrait of exhaustion. Yet, he still breathed. Weakly, but he persisted. The old leader's eyelids fluttered a few times before he laboriously opened his eyes. In that moment, the madman, Eagle-Eye, softly. And all the viewers felt their hearts leap into their throats. The old leader slowly turned his head. His gaze transcended the madman and the boulder. Reaching the other side of the mountain, the place they had risked their lives to conquer. The madman had previously deceived him, claiming that beyond lay spring, adorned with rapeseed flowers and vast plains. But now, the truth stood bare before them. Beyond the mountain was yet another mountain, an endless expanse of snow-capped peaks. One after another, they loomed like a procession of colossal white beasts, silently standing amidst heaven and earth. There were no flowers, no grass, no plains, only a path that stretched further, more perilous, more despairing. At that moment, the madman felt an unprecedented suffocation. He yearned to cover the old leader's eyes, to continue weaving that pitiful lie. Class leader, truly, the fog is too dense. You see, the old leader suddenly spoke. His voice was gentle, devoid of the characteristic twang, imbued with an unprecedented warmth and acceptance. He gazed at the still desolate and harsh range of snow-capped mountains, observing the peaks glistening golden under the sunlight. In his murky eyes, there was no trace of the disappointment the madman feared. Instead, they shone with an unsettling brilliance. How splendid it is! The old squad leader, with great effort, lifted his one arm and pointed toward the distant, undulating expanse of pure white snow. Crazy lad, look at all these mountains and lands, he said, a subtle smile curving his lips, revealing a toothless yet endearing grin. From now on, it's all ours. The crazy brother stood frozen, while Eagle-Eye lowered his head, biting his lip tightly, and Softy was at a loss for words, tears streaming down. They believed the old squad leader wished to behold the scenery, the arrival of spring. Yet, that was not the case. What he longed to see was merely the path beneath their feet, still firmly held by their own people. As long as the mountains remained, as long as the roads persisted, and as long as life endured, that would be the finest spring of all. At that moment, right at the center of everyone's vision, the game title they had derided as a fraudulent label began to tremble as if disturbed by an electric current. The originally sweet, fresh, and ironically crafted title, Healing Journey, seemed, in that instant, to shed a layer of superficial disguise, revealing its true essence amidst a heavy, resonant sound. Healing Journey, the oath beneath the snowy mountain. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped the entire network. In the Luan studio, Luan's eyes glistened with unshed tears, a medley of emotions swirling within him. He gazed at the screen displaying the title that had finally undergone its transformation and gently pressed the enter key. Healing does not solely consist of candies and flowers, Luan murmured softly. For a nation that had forgotten its roots, the heart-wrenching memories were the only true remedy. In the live streaming room, after a brief pause, the barrage of comments surged forth like a torrential flood. I'm such a fool. I genuinely thought this was just a deceptive, torturous game. Me too. I even scolded the streamer for being a masochist. So, the oath is truly the meaning behind the title? What oath? Is it the old squad leader's pledge to his daughter? No, it is not merely that. A golden comment suddenly appeared, jarringly out of place, yet profoundly resonant amidst the entertainment-soaked platform. The oath is that we will carry you, and we will survive. In the game, the system's prompt echoed once more. This time, it was not a cold, detached warning, but imbued with a solemn gravity. Server announcement. Congratulations to players Crazy Brother, Eagle-Eye, and Softy for successfully conquering the Jiajin Mountain Pass. Current quest, Red Expedition. Snow Mountain Chapter Core objective achieved. Calculating results. There were no fireworks. No celebratory sounds. Only a faded, sepia-toned map slowly unfurling before the three of them. On the map, a slender red line stretched from the starting point to their current location. Behind that red line lay a long, winding path shrouded in an endless gray mist. Current progress on the long march. 5 what? How many? Chapter 19, The Belt That Wasn't Eaten. The Crazy Brother, still immersed in sorrow and emotion, nearly had his eyes pop out upon seeing that number. 5. He pointed at the figure, his fingers trembling, his voice cracking from sheer shock. Are you kidding me? I've run my legs to the bone. My back is about to break. I nearly died 10 times over. I thought we had completed the game. Is this truly the extent of our journey? Hawkeye pondered, staring at the map. The snow-capped mountains were merely a small white speck on the chart. The route veered northwest, and before even reaching the mountains, there lay a lengthy and winding path ahead. Further along, they would face the daunting challenge of seizing the looting bridge, while behind them, the treacherous expanse of the Songpan grasslands awaited. Clearly, this was a precursor to a forthcoming chapter. 5. Hawkeye murmured. Is this truly the historical narrative of a parallel world? Within the game, they experienced pain suppression, received system prompts, and even had opportunities to restart. Yet they felt as though existence itself was a torment. In contrast, the NPCs, or rather, the predecessors of this parallel universe, were flesh and blood, confronting genuine peril. How did they manage to traverse the remaining 95? The Luo and studio had evidently orchestrated this experience, allowing them only a glimpse of the arduous journey. Even now, Hawkeye struggled to comprehend why the old commander and his comrades insisted on persevering through such an extensive trek. It was even more unfathomable to consider the formidable challenges that awaited them before and after the snow-capped mountains. This game is unplayable, he lamented, slumping despondently onto the ground. Gazing at the map, shaking his head in despair. It's insurmountably difficult. How could one possibly complete it? The live chat erupted in chaos. Goodness. The length is utterly absurd. Is the planner a devil? Must they torment us like this? Is there no end to this suffering? A wave of hopelessness spread among them. Faced with the suffocatingly long journey ahead, even the most hardcore players felt a pang of retreat. The cold wind picked up again, though not as fierce as before. Yet still biting. The old commander leaned against a rock, seemingly drifting back into slumber. His breaths were faint, and his lone arm hung limply at his side. Little Tiger and Little Bean huddled beside him, gazing up at Brother Crazy with a mix of admiration and dependence, as if believing that as long as they followed him, no obstacle was insurmountable. Brother Crazy, observing the children's hopeful eyes, glanced at the large black pot discarded on the ground. That pot had been fiercely protected by Old Lee, yet its bottom now bore several dents, and its handle was askew, rendering it quite unsightly. Brother Crazy remained silent for an extended period. Suddenly, he bent down and grasped the pot strap. Brother Crazy? Hawkeye exclaimed in surprise. What are you doing? The system has confirmed our passage. We can exit now. Exit my foot, Brother Crazy retorted vehemently. Gritting his teeth, he hefted the cumbersome iron pot once more onto his already battered back. The excruciating pressure on his wounds made him gasp, yet he refused to relinquish the pot. Standing tall, he adjusted his tattered Red Star military cap, then turned to face the map that instilled despair in everyone, contemplating the arduous journey ahead, all while addressing the millions of viewers in the live stream. On Brother Crazy's frostbitten and bloodstained face emerged a smile that was both resigned and resolute. Five it is, then. He patted the large iron pot behind him, producing a sharp, resonant clang. Initially, it seemed he was merely on a journey. Now, however, as he glanced back at the peacefully slumbering old squad leader, his gaze was tender, reminiscent of a son observing his elderly father. This journey would last a lifetime. Brothers, gather yourselves and prepare to descend the mountain. Just then, a melodious accordion tune suddenly wafted into his ears. It was a melody steeped in nostalgia, both poignant and sweeping. He was momentarily taken aback. Eagle Eye and Softy were equally stunned. Before them, the disheartening map of the long march gradually faded, and a line of white stone inscriptions emerged on their retinas. Congratulations to players Crazy Brother, Eagle Eye, and Softy for completing Crimson Expedition, Snow Mountain Chapter. Difficulty rating, Historical Reality, Despair. Completion, 90, core NPCs survived. But Oldie did not. Note, surviving NPCs will appear in future chapter updates. Following this, 2 lines of server-wide announcements abruptly appeared. Server announcement. In light of the significant physiological and psychological toll of the historical reality difficulty on players, a narrative experience mode has now been unlocked. Note, in narrative experience mode, pain threshold is capped at 1, environmental damage is reduced by 80, but hidden storylines cannot be triggered, and special memorabilia cannot be obtained. Upon seeing this announcement, the viewers in the live stream, who had long been too traumatized to log in, erupted in excitement. I knew it. Old Thief Luo still has a shred of humanity. We can finally play. I don't seek completion. I merely wish to enter and offer the old squad leader a warm gift. Those upstairs should think twice. The low difficulty will likely only allow for story viewing, and the system will undoubtedly prevent the distribution of supplies. Yet Crazy Brother, upon reading the announcement, merely scoffed, disdainfully spitting a mouthful of bloodied saliva onto the ground. Experience. My foot. What kind of long march is this if it doesn't strip away a layer of skin? However, the prospect of encountering the old squad leader and the others in subsequent chapters brought a smile to Crazy Brother's face as he exchanged glances with Eagle Eye and Softy. What a joyful thought. At that moment, an exclusive rewards panel for the 3 of them appeared. There were no divine artifacts or extraordinary skills, just 2 simple rewards. The first was a title. Awarded unique title, Guardian of the Flame. Title effect. Upon entering subsequent chapters wearing this title, all NPCs from the Crimson Legion will have their initial goodwill locked to trust. Description. You need not prove your courage to them, for your essence mirrors their own. Eagle Eye read the description, a subtle twitch at the corner of his eye. Even when he had claimed world championship glory, he had never felt such an urge to weep. This was not merely a title, it was a form of recognition. Acknowledged as kindred by the toughest men in the world. The second reward was an item. It did not directly materialize in his inventory, but appeared as if conjured into Crazy Brother's hand. It was a heavy, cold object. Looking down, Crazy Brother's pupils constricted sharply. It was a segment of a belt. A tattered leather belt, marred by dark stains, and an array of bite marks, both deep and shallow, lay before him. Some of these impressions were large, as if inflicted by an adult's desperate gnawing, while others were small, hinting at a youthful innocence. His hands trembled as he recognized it as the very belt that had adorned Old Lee's waist and life. Following Old Lee's demise, this belt had come into the possession of the old squad leader. On numerous occasions, in the dead of night, he had witnessed the squad leader removing this belt, placing it over a flickering campfire until it smoked, then striking it with a stone to soften it. At those times, he had believed the squad leader intended to consume it himself. Yet, the old leader merely sliced off a portion of the softened edge and offered it to the still-growing little doozy, while he himself subsisted on snow and grass roots. Enduring the hardship. Item: weathered leather belt, the sole memento. Quality: priceless. Description: this was meant to be the last ration left by the squad leader in his final moments. It bears countless bite marks, remnants of Old Lee's life and traces of little doozy's secret licks. Its taste is bitter, foul, and nearly impossible to swallow. Special effect: when worn, the willpower of teammates within a 5-meter radius in dire situations decreases at half the normal rate. Note: boil it, and it may save a life. Yet, in that moment, no one could bear to consume it. It stands as a backbone harder than steel. He clutched the half-belt tightly, its rough edges digging painfully into his palm. Damn this equipment, he muttered, pressing the belt against his heart, his voice choked like a child's. This is far more effective than any divine artifact. The countdown reached 0. The instance is about to close. Players will be transported back to the real world in 10 seconds. The surrounding blizzard did not dissipate. Instead, an odd glitching effect emerged. The air crackled with electronic noise and flickering snowflake-like distortions. What was happening? Is it stuck? Eagle Eye scanned the surroundings warily. Chapter 20. May this prosperity be as you wish. At that moment, they realized their bodies had transformed. The tattered cotton jackets and straw sandals began to peel away, fading into nothingness. In their stead, they donned the resplendent attire they had worn prior to entering the game. He reverted to the vibrant young man with striking yellow hair. Clad in trendy streetwear, Eagle Eye returned to the sharp-eyed professional player in a crisp team uniform. Softy transformed back into the glamorous streamer adorned in a delicate Lolita dress. This modern garb, so out of place against the stark, tragic backdrop of the snow-capped mountain pass, seemed almost ludicrous. Instinctively, he wished to shield his face, feeling that he was too pristine, too fashionable. In the presence of the snow-laden mountain, his attire filled him with a sense of shame. Yet at that moment, a faint warm light emanated from a nearby windbreak stone. The old squad leader, who had been leaning there, teetering on the brink of death, suddenly became semi-transparent. In the glow, he rose to his feet. The rotting severed arm had vanished, and his stooped back straightened. He was clad in a military uniform, though faded. It was clean and free of any patches. Even that weathered face had taken on a rosy hue, youthful and vibrant with spirit. He stood amidst the swirling wind and snow, bathed in light, gazing gently yet intently at the vibrant youth before him. It was the gaze of an elder observing a promising descendant, transcending the parallel realms of the Dragon Kingdom. The old squad leader regarded the golden-haired youth, Wild Brother, then glanced at the oddly attired Eagle Eye and the delicately dressed Softy. He did not perceive them as grotesque beings. Instead, he offered a hearty smile, gesturing towards Wild Brother's striking golden locks. Wild Boy, the squad leader's voice, once hoarse, now resonated clearly and brightly, imbued with a reassuring echo. So, this is what you all look like. Quite well indeed. Though your hair is a tad too yellow, your attire appears substantial and breathable. And those shoes are commendable. With a thick sole that cushions your steps, the once audacious streamer, who could stride confidently before millions of fans, now stood before this ethereal figure. Feeling as awkward as a child caught misbehaving, he wished to conceal his golden mane and shed his trendy attire. Squad leader, Wild Brother began, but found his throat constricted. The squad leader waved a hand, interrupting him, and took a step forward. Though in a spectral form, Wild Brother felt enveloped by the warm essence of paternal affection. The squad leader's eyes seemed to pierce through him, delving into the distant, unknown world that lay beyond. For a moment, the once unyielding warrior, who had faced the hail of bullets without flinching, appeared somewhat tentative. Boy, I wish to ask you something, he said, his voice trembling slightly, tinged with a humble hope. Did we ultimately win this battle? Can crops still be sown in that land? This inquiry brought tears to Wild Brother and his companions. This was the true obsession that weighed on the squad leader's heart as he departed. Not his own life or the severed arm, but the land, the crops, and whether future generations would have enough to eat. Wild Brother's tears flowed freely as he nodded vigorously, striving to articulate his thoughts, but only managing to emit choked sounds of affirmation. At that moment, as Softy wiped her tears, she felt a gentle vibration from the smart wristband. A soft luminescent screen unfurled unexpectedly before the three, as well as the squad leader. It was not a high-tech holographic projection, but rather akin to an open window. Beyond this window lay the world where Wild Brother and his companions dwelled, a future that the squad leader referred to as springtime. No aircraft carriers or towering skyscrapers appeared. Rather, the scene presented was heartbreakingly simple. The camera shifted to an endless expanse of golden wheat waves. Under the sun, massive combine harvesters rumbled forward, with golden grains cascading like waterfalls, forming small hills. The camera shifted again to a spacious, brightly lit elementary school classroom. Outside the window, snowflakes danced in a flurry while the classroom was enveloped in warmth. Dozens of children, clad in thick uniforms resembling loaves of bread, bore rosy cheeks, not from frostbite, but from the abundant health bestowed upon them, as they recited their lessons. Their voices were tender yet resonant, unperturbed by the howling wind and swirling snow. The scene culminated in a bustling cafeteria, where workers and students formed a queue before steaming windows. What awaited them was not the thin barley porridge that could reflect one's silhouette, nor the fishy broth of leather, but rather, dazzling white rice, heaped high and pointed. And there was the much-anticipated meat sauce noodles, glistening with red oil, generously adorned with chunks of meat, while wide noodles hung from chopsticks like a belt, releasing steam that made one squint. The old class leader stood transfixed before the luminous window. Instinctively, he raised his hand, longing to touch the golden wheat, yearning to grasp that bowl of noodles. Yet his hand passed through the radiant curtain, grasping nothing. Nevertheless, he felt no frustration. He gazed intently, watching the children, observing the grains. As he continued to gaze, this man, who had shed blood and sweat without tears, suddenly smiled like a child. As laughter filled the air, tears cascaded down the deep creases of his face. How wonderful it is, such an abundance of food, truly inexhaustible. How well those children have grown, plump and thriving. Unable to contain himself, Kwang Gu pointed at the radiant screen, his voice imbued with a solemnity befitting a report to elders. Leader, look, that is our land, the land of today. We have triumphed. We have won it all. The children need not bear arms, nor endure the biting cold, nor gnaw on tree bark. They can eat noodles when they desire, feast on meat whenever they wish, celebrating every day as if it were a festival. Even if this vision emanated from Luoan, a glimpse into a parallel world-s future. Ruan cried out, Leader, that is spring, true spring. No one dares to bully us now. So, in the end of the long march, victory surely belongs to them, right? The old class leader's gaze remained fixated on that bowl of noodles. He listened to Kwang Gu and Ruan's fervent shouts, and his smile blossomed even more, yet his form began to grow faint. He transformed into countless shimmering specks, as if to dissolve into the still-falling snow. To have one is enough, to have one is enough. The old class leader's voice became ethereal, as if it were echoing from the clouds. Our journeys have not been in vain. Old Li, Xiao Hu, Xiao Duzi, we have not traveled in vain. It was worth it. The scattering of light intensified. The old class leader cast a final glance at Kwang Gu, then at the three peculiar children who accompanied him to the journey's end. Slowly, he withdrew his gaze, adjusted his collar, and then, addressing the trio, the prosperous realm within the screen, and the countless spectators beyond the screen holding their breath in rapt attention, he raised his right hand slowly. A salute. This time, his military gesture was no longer marred by his amputated arm. It was precise, strong, like the evergreen pines. Children, walk the path ahead with care. Do not look back. The wind rose, and the light dispersed. The figure of the old squad leader has completely vanished into the air, leaving only the echo of his parting words. Do not look back, reverberating through the valley. The scene gradually fades to black, revealing a line of golden text that appears to be ablaze. May this prosperous era unfold as you desire. In the real world, the wild brother removes his VR headset. On his face, drenched in sweat and tears, the usual arrogance and aggression have dissipated. He sits numbly in his gaming chair, gazing at the ceiling, motionless for an extended period. In the live streaming room, an unprecedented spectacle unfolds. Millions of comments stream in unison, disciplined like a well-trained army. Two words dominate the screen: salute, salute, salute. In this moment, there are neither streamers nor fans, nor distinctions of region or age. There exists only a collective of awakened souls, paying homage to the parallel world of the Dragon Kingdom and to a history that ought not to be forgotten. The trending topics explode at this instant. The Luoan studio, with its resounding success, claims the top 3 spots. May this prosperous era unfold as you desire. A revelation that embodies our backbone. Countless individuals share the screenshot of the old squad leader saluting the luminous screen. Yet, just as everyone is ensnared in this overwhelming wave of emotion and sorrow, the official account of Luoan Studio posts a new update. There is no sentimental prose, nor lengthy expressions of gratitude, only a brief 1-minute promotional video. New version teaser. Since the snow-capped mountains are too cold, let us embark on a spring outing. Everyone is taken aback. A spring outing? Could the old rogue truly be so benevolent? With skepticism, millions of players click on the video, greeted by an expanse of vibrant green. The sky is a wash of blue, with clouds drifting lazily. The boundless meadows stretch like a verdant carpet toward the horizon. As the wind blows, the tall grasses sway like waves. Unfamiliar purple wildflowers punctuate the landscape, while clear puddles reflect the shadows of soaring birds. The background music is a lively and melodious harmonica tune, enchanting to the ears. On the screen, delightful artistic text appears. Bid farewell to the cold, embrace the warm sun. This is a hiking camping adventure filled with flowers and green grass. Even without meat sauce noodles, we still have the rustic joys of foraging for wild vegetables. Crimson Expedition, Summer Outing, Launching in 3 days, warmth awaits. As the video concludes, the air falls silent for 3 seconds. Old Rogue, are you deceiving us? Last time you promised a healing journey, and I nearly froze to death on Mount Jiajin. I trust you as much as a ghost. Is there a landmine buried beneath that grass? Are there crocodiles lurking in those puddles, foraging for wild vegetables? I suspect you mean for us to dig graves. Brothers, do not fall for this. This is undoubtedly a scam. That grass looks suspicious. It appears more like a swamp. Stop with the conspiracy theories upstairs. I find this scene quite lively. Perhaps the old rogue has had a change of heart and genuinely wishes for us to relax? Relax? In that era, do you believe that grass is kinder than the snow-capped mountains? Chapter 21. The visuals are captivating, the special effects abundant, yet Luo and Studio S backend data surges dramatically. Luo gazes at the system interface. The new map, Crimson Expedition, Grassland Edition, has successfully loaded. In this instance, the rudimentary NPC intelligent dialogue module has evolved into an intermediate level. NPCs not only converse like humans, but also engage in thought processes akin to ours. At that moment, an industry news alert appeared, emblazoned in bold red text. The S-Class epic masterpiece Winter from Goose Factory will launch its public beta tomorrow. With an investment of $300 million, it boasts unparalleled graphics that overshadow all others. The following day on the Tomato live streaming platform, the title of Brother Kwang's live stream was audaciously bold. Playing Goose Factory's Winter. If it's not enjoyable, I'll eat my keyboard on the spot. He was not alone. The likes of Eagle Eye and Softy, along with top streamers across the web, were also present. After all, Goose Factory had been exceedingly generous. Brothers, it will take 3 days for old thief Luo's new game, so let us take a peek next door. Brother Kwang donned the latest VR headset, a grin spreading across his face. I heard they spent $300 million on special effects. Let us see if this snow is genuine. The trio entered winter. One must admit that Goose Factory certainly possesses financial prowess. The snow-capped mountains were as breathtaking as a 4K wallpaper, each snowflake imbued with the fragrant essence of soft currency. Clad in high-tech polar gear and wielding a fully modified firearm, they felt as warm as if they were in Hawaii. Wow, this graphics quality is impeccable, Brother Kwang remarked, genuinely impressed. Now this is what gaming is all about. No chill, no hunger. Yet, this sense of novelty lasted less than 10 minutes. The sound of gunfire erupted as Brother Kwang squeezed the trigger, flames erupting from the muzzle, delivering a thrilling sensation. The enemy AI lined up like characters from a children's tale, presenting themselves for elimination. It was mere target practice, an exercise in tedium. Eagle, I let out a cold huff over the voice chat. The aim assist was so pronounced that even with closed eyes, one could achieve headshots effortlessly, devoid of any sense of pressure. At that moment, a plot event triggered. An NPC squad leader fell to the ground, clutching his abdomen, blood gushing forth, performing with a level of desperation that was striking. Help me. Brother Kwang's heart raced, instinctively rushing forward. His mind flooded with images of his old instructor lying in the snow. Hang in there, brother. I'll carry you, he shouted, reaching out to rescue him. This was an instinct born of life and death experiences in Crimson Expedition. However, just as his hand made contact with the NPC's shoulder, a glittering and festively bright recharge window abruptly obscured his vision, detecting severe injury to teammate. Would you like to purchase a powerful first aid kit? Regular price, 18 yuan, special first-time purchase offer, only 6 yuan. Buy now to revive your comrade and return to the battlefield. Brother Kwang's hand froze midair. He glanced between the bleeding NPC and the flashing button advertising the first-time purchase discount. A wave of nausea surged from his stomach, as if he had swallowed a fly. To hell with you. Brother Kwang cursed, attempting to dismiss the window to carry the NPC. Yet the system prompted him. Insufficient strength attribute. Please purchase a personal exoskeleton mech. Price, 98 yuan, to unlock carrying capabilities. Damn it. Brother Kwang yanked off his headset and slammed it onto the table. Where's my keyboard? I'm done. I'm going to smash it. In the live stream, millions of viewers observed Brother Kwang's face turning crimson with rage, and the chat was flooded with question marks. What's wrong, Brother Kwang? Isn't the graphics of this game quite splendid? Indeed, it is rather pleasing to the eye. Brother Kwang took a deep breath, grasped the microphone, and spoke in a low tone. Pleasing? Yes, it is. The visuals are impressive, the effects abundant, and slaying foes feels akin to mowing down grass. However, Brother Kwang pointed at the flickering discount of 6 yuan on the screen, and his eyes turned red. Yet the planners at the Goose Factory do not comprehend that the snow-capped mountains are not merely for scenic views. They serve as a resting place for the fallen. Those who fall are not meant to be mere sources of health packs. They are comrades. When the old squad leader was on the brink of death, he only wished to share his last morsel of food with me. Yet here, when one falls, they demand 6 yuan from me. Simultaneously, Eagle Eye and Soft logged off at lightning speed. Eagle Eye typed a single line in the chat, a pile of data, devoid of soul. Soft shared 2 images. One was of her in exquisite attire from the winter, and the other depicted her with frostbite, blindfolded in Crimson Expedition. I once thought the first image was beautiful, Soft remarked. Now, I feel that the version of me in the first image resembles a plastic mannequin. That night, The once bustling The Winter saw a marked decline in online players just 2 hours later. Many players arrived in high spirits, only to feel an unprecedented emptiness in that world tainted by the stench of greed. While exhilarating, it still felt lacking in some way. After a prolonged period of mowing down foes, one inevitably grows weary. Upon returning to Crimson Expedition, they realized that the old rogue, Lo, seemed to have upgraded the NPC emotional modules. Why does it feel as though the already authentic old squad leader and the others have become even more lifelike? At 2 in the morning, in a posh apartment, the neon lights outside flickered with a lackluster vibrancy. Soft curled up in her gaming chair, wrapped in an expensive silk air conditioning blanket. The screen before her glowed, displaying the voice channel of the Snow Mountain Demolition Office. Crunch. Soft bit into a piece of exquisite dark chocolate. Its bittersweet taste smooth as silk. This was her favorite brand, costing thousands per box. Yet at this moment, she frowned, mechanically swallowing as if chewing wax. Tasteless, she murmured into the microphone. Has this chocolate expired? It's not sweet at all. The sound of Brother Kwong lighting a cigarette and Eagle Eye's crisp keystrokes echoed in her headphones. No one responded, since they had exited the Goose Factories the winter. Rife with pay-to-win health packs, a few hours ago, they had remained in the voice channel, speaking little, simply unwilling to sleep. With closed eyes, all she could envision was the swirling snow and the silhouette of the one-armed figure saluting the light screen. That profound emptiness rising from the depths of her soul made Soft yearn desperately for sugar. I want candy, Soft sniffed, tossing the expensive chocolate back into its box, her gaze vacantly fixed on the ceiling. Do you all remember? In that heap of corpses on the snow-capped mountains, when I was barely clinging to life, the old squad leader pulled out that small, glimmering piece. When that tiny, radiant morsel was placed in my mouth, it was truly sweet. Softly reminiscing, her lips instinctively curled into a faint smile of nostalgia. I swear, that was the most delectable candy I have ever tasted in my life. Infinitely superior to these worthless trinkets worth thousands. I yearned to return and inquire with the old squad leader about where he procured that candy. I longed to savor just one more bite. Chapter 22. It was not candy. It was salt in the voice channel. The sound of Eagle Eye's keyboard abruptly ceased. The flicker of Crazy Brother's lighter was extinguished. An unsettling silence enveloped the channel. After what felt like an eternity, Eagle Eye's voice emerged through the headset, somewhat strained. Softly, don't eat anymore. Startled, she replied. Huh, what's wrong, Eagle Eye? I was just reminiscing that wasn't candy, Eagle Eye interjected. What? Softly was momentarily taken aback. After a brief hesitation, Eagle Eye lowered his voice and revealed the truth. That was salt. What? The unopened macaron in Softly's hand fell with a clatter onto the keyboard. Salt. That's impossible. It was clearly sweet. I tasted it distinctly. It was sweet. Your mind is deceiving you, Eagle Eye asserted, no longer wavering, his words devoid of compassion. In a state of extreme sodium deficiency, when electrolytes collapse, the taste buds become distorted. You will perceive everything that could save your life as sweet. He paused for a moment, letting out a sigh. In that era, in that environment, salt was more precious than gold. It was the sole sustenance for the entire squad, preventing muscle cramps and collapse. Those few grains of salt in the old squad leader's pocket were originally meant for Little Tiger, or perhaps for him to endure the next pass. Yet, he gave them all to you. He stuffed half the squad's life into your mouth and deceived you into believing it was candy. Softly, upon hearing this, felt her mind go blank. She sat there in a daze, the lingering sweetness of chocolate in her mouth suddenly transformed into a nauseating bitterness. So that was it. There had never been any candy at all. The so-called healing was merely someone pulling her back from the brink of death while sacrificing his last bit of vitality. She recalled the old squad leader's frostbitten face, remembered how his rough hands had fumbled for what felt like an eternity before carefully pinching out those few grayish grains. That was life. A sob escaped her lips. Softly buried her face in her arms on the desk, suddenly feeling utterly foolish. Just moments ago, she had been foolishly laughing in the live stream, proclaiming how kind the old squad leader was for leaving her candy. Yet, no one had warned her of the bitter truth, that it was never candy. This game creates illusions so vivid. Old rogue, you have no heart. Enough. Stop crying. Crazy Brother suddenly barked into the mic. If you keep crying, you'll go blind. The grassland segment is about to start. Do you want to be a burden to someone as a blind person? Though his words were harsh, it was evident that his voice was thick with emotion. Eagle Eye, you too, be quiet. Why tell her the truth? Now we have to comfort her. Crazy Brother grumbled in irritation. Let us get back to business. Brother Kwong cleared his throat, forcefully shifting the conversation. Our previous completion rate stood at a mere 90. The moment this figure was revealed, the atmosphere, which had been steeped in sorrow, grew instantly somber. 90. For seasoned professionals or streamers like them, this number was glaringly unacceptable. Whether it was Brother Kwong or Eagle Eye, achieving a flawless 100 in their gaming exploits was paramount. Every achievement must be unlocked. And even a single hidden treasure chest missed warranted a return for a thorough replay. Yet this time, the missing 10 felt like a thorn, embedded in the hearts of all present. The system's completion notification indicated it was due to Old Lee. Eagle Eye furrowed his brow in contemplation, arriving at a conclusion. A Among the core NPCs, Old Class Leader, Little Tiger, and Little Bean had all survived. Only Old Lee from the cooking team perished in the blizzard. The system determined that full survival was essential for a perfect completion. Silence enveloped the voice chat once more. Everyone knew how Old Lee had met his end. The blizzard that day was ferocious, with visibility reduced to less than a meter. Old Lee, burdened with a large army pot, trailed at the back of the group. To prevent the pot from being swept away by the wind, and to keep the embers alive, he lay over the pot, shielding it with his body. By the time he was found, he had frozen solid, resembling a block of stone. Yet beneath him, the pot remained warm. The forum was already ablaze with fervent discussions. Eagle Eye casually shared a link in the group chat. The entire internet was now dissecting the rescue Old Lee strategy. Since we had failed to achieve it, it implied that a superior solution must exist. Some suggested we replay the Snow Mountain dungeon to strive for a perfect 100. Brother Kwong clicked on the link. Glancing briefly, good heavens, even if it meant sacrificing our lives, we must bring Old Lee back. This post had surged to the top of the trending topics. Countless players were offering their insights below. Some proposed, if players removed their clothing to wrap the pot, might Old Lee have survived? Others questioned, could Brother Kwong carry Old Class Leader to hasten their pace? If they reached the camp before the blizzard struck, Old Lee wouldn't fall behind. There were even bolder suggestions. If all else fails, let the 3 players take turns shielding Old Lee from the wind. Sacrificing 1 player for an NPC, what a bargain. Reading through these comments, Brother Kwong remained silent, merely letting out a cold chuckle. He lit a cigarette, inhaling deeply, the smoke blurring the grayscale image of Old Lee's memorial on the screen. Eagle Eye, what do you think? Brother Kwong inquired. From a technical standpoint, is it feasible to save him? Eagle Eye paused for 2 seconds. Theoretically, yes. But in practice, it's a deadlock. At that critical moment, the temperature plummeted to minus 40 degrees, with winds reaching force 10. If Old Lee hadn't shielded the pot, it would have been swept away, extinguishing the fire. Without hot water, the entire squad would perish that night. If players attempted to shield the pot, Eagle Eye hesitated. Removing clothing would lead to death, while keeping it on wouldn't block the wind. The so-called strategy rests on a singular core logic, sacrificing a player's life to save Old Lee's. However, Eagle Eye's tone grew colder. While players can be resurrected, in the system's logic, once a player dies, the game resets. The Old Lee we save exists only within the timeline where we perished. For those of us who remain, the death of Old Lee seems inevitable. It presents an unsolvable trolley problem, and even Hawkeye cannot conceive of a more suitable resolution. This is the most brutal aspect of the civilization torch system established by Juan. History does not entertain hypotheticals. Sacrifice is sacrifice, irrevocable and absolute. I shall not attempt it again. Brother Kwong extinguished his cigarette in the ashtray, his voice resolute. I, too, opposed the notion of retrying. Soft, who had been weeping, suddenly spoke. She retrieved a tissue and forcefully blew her nose. Once is enough to endure such pain. Moreover, Soft gazed at the group photo on the screen. If the objective is merely to achieve a score of 100 by dragging Old Class Leader and the others back into that hellish realm for another round of torment, I deem it an affront to their memory. Indeed, Brother Kwong interjected, his hand instinctively moving to his heart. In reality, there is nothing there. Yet, within the game data, lies a tattered half-belt. That was a relic of Old Lee, left behind when he entrusted the burden to Brother Kwong. Old Lee passed the pot to me. Brother Kwong's voice grew somber. Therefore, I must bear it for him. The path he could not traverse, I shall walk in his stead. The meadows he did not witness, I shall behold. This is the true essence of this wretched game, or rather, this damned history, revealing to us what it genuinely seeks to convey. Brother Kwong lifted his head, his gaze imbued with determination. We shall only move forward, never looking back, carrying this regret of 90 and this life. We shall die at the finish line if we must. This is the best tribute we can offer to Old Lee. Hawkeye tapped the keyboard a few times, seemingly closing certain strategy pages. Agreed. Those 2 brief words encapsulated the final resolution of the Snow Mountain Demolition Team trio. Imperfection is the truest form of history. Now, let us discuss matters regarding the Meadow chapter. Hawkeye swiftly entered tactical command mode, his speech quickening. The official announcement has just been updated. The Crimson Expedition, Meadow chapter is an entirely new, vast map, with environmental complexity 5 times that of the Snow Mountain. Furthermore, the system indicates that this will be a multi-unit cooperative dungeon. Recommended team size, 5. Hawkeye circled the highlighted text. We are but 3. Moreover, Brother Kwong, you are the primary heavy lifter, burdened with the pot. Your mobility is restricted. Soft. Hawkeye hesitated to label Soft as a liability. She is a medic, lacking in stamina. I possess only the Hanyang firearm, severely inadequate in firepower. Should we enter under strength, facing swamps and potential skirmishes, our annihilation rate could soar to 98. In the live stream and private messages, at least 200 professional players, retired veterans, are applying to join our ranks. There is even a wealthy individual offering 1 million, merely seeking a glimpse into the meadow. Brother Kwong, what say you? Shall we recruit more members? Chapter 23, the most expensive 1 yuan. This is currently the issue of utmost concern to the outside world. The only team to have conquered the Snow Mountain is now poised to advance into the more challenging meadows, necessitating the recruitment of formidable allies. Even if 2 professional champions from random shooting games were brought in, their combat prowess would undoubtedly double. Yet, without a moment's hesitation, Brother Kwong uttered a curse. What a bunch of fools. Let them get lost. Why? Although Soft was also reluctant to add anyone, a question slipped out. What do they know? Brother Kwong's voice rose sharply, as if someone had stepped on his tail. Have they ever known hunger? Have they ever tasted a belt? Have they ever warmed each other's feet in a snow hole? Bringing in any so-called elite soldier may enhance the technical skills, but could they? When faced with a single ration, handed over to the old squad leader without a second thought, could they support me with their shoulder when I can no longer carry the pot? No, they cannot. Breathing heavily, Brother Kwong's tone was imbued with an unmistakable exclusivity. That arrogance and stubbornness could only belong to those who had truly shared the burden of arms and crossed the line between life and death together. This was not merely about completing a dungeon or defeating a boss. This was a long march. Among the 3 of us, one a yellow-haired ruffian, one a data nerd, and one a crybaby, Brother Kwong's words encompassed them all, drawing them into the fold. But we possess that spirit. We are soldiers recognized by the old squad leader. Anyone else who joins would be a deserter, a burden, a disruptor. With a resounding declaration, Brother Kwong asserted, even if there are only 3 of us, even if we must crawl, I will carry that pot out of the grassland. Anyone who dares to fall behind, I will kick them to the finish line. A silence hung in the air for 2 seconds before Hawk. I let out a light chuckle, tinged with relief. Though I am displeased by being called a data nerd, your analysis based on character models holds true. The trust cost is too high. Outsiders cannot integrate. So, it shall be just the 3 of us. Let us persist resolutely. Meanwhile, the entire internet buzzed with discussions about the Crimson Expedition, Snow Mountain chapter, which had only a progress rate of 5. The Goose Factory, unable to sit idle, initiated an emergency response to salvage the declining daily active users of Winter's Embrace. Wang Qi made an overnight decision to launch the Warm Winter Reward event, a login bonus of 10 consecutive draws, and a first recharge of 6 yuan for a golden quality assault rifle. Just as players were torn over whether to exploit the Goose Factory for some free benefits, the official account of the Luoan Studio released another announcement. Crimson Expedition, Grassland Chapter DLC will be officially unlocked tomorrow at 1800 hours. Price, 1 yuan. Note, Luoan Studio solemnly promises that all future DLC chapters related to historical narratives will be permanently priced at 1 yuan. This fee is solely for server maintenance and electricity costs. Upon the release of this announcement, the comments section erupted. 1 yuan? Have you gone mad, old thief Luo? A first aid kit at the Goose Factory costs 6 yuan, and you're selling a new map of dozens of gigabytes for just 1 yuan? Are you so broke you can't afford meals? Don't strain yourself. I'll tip you, just change the price back. Exactly. I could tolerate the Snow Mountain chapter being free, but this Grassland chapter clearly has a grand production value. I would pay 68 or 128 without hesitation. 1 yuan? Who do you think you're looking down upon? The players were frantic. They were not only fearful of the torment, but also deeply moved. Should the Luoan Studio face closure due to financial constraints? Or might one seek such profoundly moving games that evoke tears akin to those of a dog? The studio's backend is inundated with messages beseeching monetary support. Before his computer, Luoan gazes at these messages with a smile. It is not that he is unwilling to accept funds. Rather, he is genuinely not in need of money at the moment. Just last night, the landlord, who had previously threatened to evict him, knocked on the studio door bearing a bag of homegrown apples. Before Luoan, the landlord tore up the crumpled debt note. My dear boy, your rent is forgiven. The landlord's murky eyes were red, clearly having shed tears recently. That scoundrel of a grandson of mine used to wreak havoc daily, ignoring all advice. The other day, after playing your game, he returned home and dyed his unruly hair black, even volunteering to help his mother with the vegetables. He claimed he was a soldier under the old squad leader and could not bring shame to the unit. The landlord grasped Luoan's hand firmly. Your game is splendid. It teaches people to improve themselves. Feel free to stay, and I will even free up the spacious, well-lit suite upstairs for you. As long as you continue creating this game, I will not charge you a penny in rent. The following day, at 1750, with only 10 minutes remaining until the server launch, the viewership in Crazy Brothers livestream soared to 5 million. On the screen, a 3-person split window from the Snow Mountain relocation office appeared. Crazy Brother, are you really not adding anyone? The barrage of comments flooded the screen. The top sniper of the national server had sent 10 super chats requesting to form a team. Moreover, a genuine retired Special Forces soldier offered to serve as their bodyguard for free. It was rumored that the grassland was even more challenging than the Snow Mountain. Wouldn't it be a death sentence for your 3 low health accounts to enter? Crazy Brother surveyed the comments and then glanced at the 999 team requests in his inbox. Only they had the privilege to initiate the Crimson Expedition, Grassland Edition, and everyone sought to hitch a ride on their team for the initial rush of players. With a cigarette in hand, Crazy Brother took a deep inhale, releasing a disdainful smoke ring. Add people? For what purpose? To follow their commands? Or to listen to their boasts? He extinguished the cigarette with a rough motion. Do they comprehend the taste of half a belt? Do they know how to nestle their feet in a comrade's embrace for warmth in a snow pit? Do they realize that the old squad leader would rub his frozen hands, looking like a parsnip, just to save a match? Meanwhile, on the other end of the call, Eagle Eye was calibrating the equipment, adding, based on previous data analysis, new members require a minimum of 72 hours to adapt to our tactics. Prior to that, the probability of total annihilation due to misunderstanding the sacrifice mechanism is 99. Thus, refusal is the most efficient decision. Soft, sniffling with a large bundle of tissues in her arms, declared, I don't wish to join others either. They would surely think I'm a liability. Only you and the old squad leader would accept me. At 1759, the three donned their helmets simultaneously, activating the neural connection. Before their eyes, an exquisite green hue gradually unfurled on their retinas. It was a new concept poster. Verdant grass extended into the horizon. Wildflowers blossomed abundantly. A scene so beautiful it resembled a dream. Yet at the heart of that exquisite scene, a line of blood-red song font words gradually emerged like a sharp blade. Welcome to Crimson Expedition, the pasture chapter. Here, there are no storms of bullets. Here, only an invisible abyss. Chapter 24. Only the stick is useful. Buzz. The ringing in his ears faded, and his sensory system rebooted. Brother Kwong opened his eyes, instinctively wishing to wrap his arms tighter in his cotton coat. The muscle memory cultivated in the snowy mountain instance made him feel that as soon as he opened his eyes, a knife-like wind and snow would rush in through his collar. Yet this time, no cold wind greeted him. Instead, a warm, moist air, mingled with the earthy scent of soil and the fragrant aroma of grass, surged into his nostrils. Achoo! Softly sneezing, he rubbed his eyes in bewilderment. Brother Kwong was stunned. Eagle Eye was equally taken aback. Even having seen it in the PV and having mentally prepared themselves, the visual impact of actually being here was still astonishingly overwhelming. Green. Boundless green. The sky was as blue as a massive crystal, with a few lazy white clouds hanging at the horizon. Beneath their feet lay dense pasture grass, nearly waist-high. And as the wind blew, waves of green grass rolled towards the horizon, producing a soft rustling sound. Unknown wildflowers in shades of red, yellow, and purple dotted the grass, reminiscent of promotional photos from popular camping sites. Wow. Brother Kwong glanced down at his feet. No longer was he standing on the hard, bone-chilling eternal ice, but rather on soft, damp black soil. Stepping on it felt akin to treading on a gigantic sponge soaked with water, with muddy water seeping from the grass roots. What a visual quality. Eagle Eye crouched down, his fingers brushing over a blade of grass. The sensation of roughness and the unique texture of the plant's sap met his fingertips. The scale of vegetation here was such that each blade of grass had an independent physical presence. Eagle Eye lifted his gaze towards the distance, his pupils narrowing slightly, and his line of sight extending into infinity. In the snowy mountain chapter, due to financial constraints, Luo and had obscured the distant scenery with blizzards. But here, it seemed Luo and was flaunting his wealth. At the horizon, two serpentine lines were slowly writhing within this sea of green. They were people, thousands upon thousands, clad in tattered military uniforms, burdened with an array of peculiar equipment. The line of troops stretched for miles, an endless sight. This scene left millions of viewers in the live stream utterly speechless. Previously, they had only witnessed a squad, a mere representation of a company in the snowy mountains. Now, for the first time, they felt the weight of the words expeditionary army in a visceral manner. Luo the old rogue has struck it rich, Brother Kwong muttered to himself, gazing at the grand backdrop of the troop, finally willing to hire extras. However, he quickly found no humor in the situation, for this vast army was eerily silent. Tens of thousands marching, yet not a whisper could be heard. Only the muffled sound of footsteps, the squelching of mud as feet pulled free, converging into a suffocating low-frequency noise that sent a shiver down the spine. Let us go find the old squad leader. Brother Kwong tightened the marching pot strapped to his back. That pot was still the same one from the snowy mountains, its bottom flattened from wear. Yet, within this humid and sultry environment, there exists an inexplicable sense of security. Following the system's guidance, the trio swiftly located their familiar number towards the middle and rear of the line. Squad leader, soft, with keen eyes, immediately spotted the familiar figure and called out with a quavering voice, disregarding the muddy ground as she stumbled towards him. Upon hearing her call, the figure, who was examining the footprints of the soldiers ahead, paused momentarily. The old squad leader turned around. At this moment, the cotton jacket that had frozen solid on the snowy mountains was no longer present. He had replaced it with a patched-up single garment. The empty sleeve still hung at his waist. However, his face was no longer the deep purple from the cold, but had taken on a waxy yellow hue, indicative of long-term malnutrition, with high cheekbones and sunken eyes. Upon seeing the trio standing there intact, the old squad leader's murky eyes suddenly brightened. That gaze resembled that of a father witnessing his lost child unexpectedly return home. Yet, he did not rebuke them loudly as he had on the snowy mountains, nor did he embrace them with fervor. He simply smiled, a faint smile, imbued with an indescribable weariness, yet radiating a reassuring steadiness. You've returned? The old squad leader's voice was hoarse, as if sand were lodged in his throat. He scrutinized the pot on Crazy Brother's back. glanced at the old tube in Eagle Eye's hand, and finally settled his gaze on Soft's grass shoes, which were scarcely muddied. Very good. Nothing has been lost. As long as nothing is lost. Crazy Brother felt a pang in his nose, suddenly realizing the transformation in the old squad leader. Previously, the squad leader spoke with rich emotions, unlike the rigid demeanor of a character from a game. But now, it seemed he had learned to contemplate. He would occasionally glance at the gathering clouds on the horizon, his brow instinctively furrowing into a frown. He would lower his gaze to the puddles by the roadside. His expression no longer solely one of determination but tinged with a hint of worry. The AI model, Eagle Eye, whispered in astonishment. The subtle expression capture was terrifyingly profound. So much so that they found it increasingly difficult to regard the old squad leader as merely an NPC. Just then, the old squad leader appeared to recall something. He turned around and retrieved 3 sticks from beside a tattered food bag. These were 3 branches, broken from an unknown dead tree, wrist thick, with their surfaces polished smooth. Evidently well prepared. Take these. The old squad leader handed the sticks to the trio. What is this? Crazy Brother asked, grasping the stick, which felt heavy and somewhat burdensome. A dog stick? This is your lifeline. The old squad leader gazed solemnly at the seemingly tranquil and beautiful meadow ahead. He provided no further explanation, merely tightened his grip on his own stick and struck it heavily against the damp turf. With a dull thud, the stick sank halfway into the soil, releasing a surge of black water. In this cursed place, guns are ineffective, and legs are of no use. The old squad leader raised his head and looked up at the sky, which appeared almost unnaturally blue. Only the stick is reliable. The team set off. In the initial couple of kilometers, nothing unexpected occurred. As heralded in the promotional PV video, the scenery here is breathtakingly beautiful. Beneath our feet lies a soft meadow, akin to treading upon a thick woolen carpet, each step imbued with a gentle resilience. A mild breeze sweeps through, causing the tall wild grasses to undulate like waves, while the air is imbued with the fragrant blend of fresh grass and earth, devoid of the piercing cold typically found in snowy mountains. To be candid, disregarding the fact that this is our path, this locale is indeed quite suitable for a picnic. Ruan, walking in the midst of the group, felt her anxiousness slightly dissipate. She gazed at a small purple flower by the roadside, a hue she had never encountered in the monochrome world of the snow-capped mountains. Her innate appreciation for beauty prompted her to instinctively deviate from the footprints of the old squad leader, taking a step aside. Ruan, don't wander off. Eagle Eye, striding ahead with a stick in hand, poking the ground, warned her without looking back. Although there were no avalanches here, the data panel indicated an exceedingly high humidity level, which could lead to... I know, I just want to take a look, Ruan replied with a smile. The flower was located on a patch of grass less than half a meter from the main path. This patch appeared lush and verdant, more abundant than the surrounding greenery. Ruan extended her foot and stepped onto it, yet was met with an unexpected sensation of weightlessness. The moment her foot made contact with the vibrant grass, an eerie feeling of falling engulfed her. It was not ground beneath her, but rather a green surface floating atop water. Ruan scarcely had time to react before her body plummeted as if ensnared by the gaping maw of a monstrous beast. The seemingly sturdy grass ruptured instantly, and black sludge, alive with a ravenous hunger, greedily ensnared her legs, rapidly creeping upwards. In the blink of an eye, the muck had risen to her knees, threatening to engulf her thighs. Ruan, the ever-watchful Kwang Gu, sensing danger, reacted faster than his thoughts. He bellowed, determined to rush forward to rescue her. Despite the heavy iron pot he carried on his back. Don't move. A thunderous shout echoed, not from Eagle Eye, but from the old squad leader. His voice, laden with the weight of battle-hardened authority, anchored Kwang Gu in place. No one is allowed to go near. Whoever does shall perish. The old squad leader's waxen face was contorted with ferocity, his gaze fixed intently on Kwang Gu. With that heavy load, one misstep could mean your end. Then what shall we do? Watch her sink. Kwang Ji's eyes blazed with desperation. In that fleeting moment of conversation, Ruan had already sunk to her waist. The sludge was frigid and unyielding, tightening its grip with each futile struggle. Ruan's face drained of color as she flailed her arms, attempting to grasp the nearby grasses. However, their roots were pitifully shallow, snapping easily under her touch. Save me, Kwang Gu. Eagle Eye. Ruan cried, her voice tinged with desperation, as the overwhelming suction dragged her toward oblivion. Get down. Don't move. The old squad leader shouted, swiftly seizing the stick from Kwang Ji's hands. Rather than recklessly charging forward, he positioned himself on the muddy ground to increase his surface area of support. Lay the stick across, horizontally over the mire. The old squad leader bellowed at the petrified Ruan, grab the stick. Do not use brute force to pull your legs. Leverage the stick. Flatten your body as if swimming through water. Chapter 25. The first step is to kneel. Eagle Eye, quick to react, mirrored the squad leader's actions. Lying down and extending the stick he held toward Ruan, grab it. Do not kick. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. At this moment, Ruan found herself ensnared by the mud up to her chest, the suffocating pressure rendering her mind blank. Yet, Her instinct for survival compelled her to grasp the two lifelines extended toward her. Lean back. Do not exert your legs. Use your waist. The squad leader lay in the muck, half his body protruding as he firmly gripped one end of the stick. 1-2 lift. At this juncture, Kwang Gu dared not move recklessly. He carefully removed the heavy pot from his back and knelt on solid ground. He then extended his arm to grasp the squad leader's belt, transforming himself into a human winch. A sickening sound of suction filled the air, the grotesque noise of flesh forcibly extracting itself from the vacuum of the mud. Ruan Yuan's body was dragged out like a stubborn radish, first her waist, then her legs, and finally, a foot with a fallen straw sandal. Huffing and panting, the group collapsed onto the solid ground, gasping for breath. That brief minute had exhausted them more than running a kilometer atop a snow-capped mountain. Ruan Yuan trembled, her half-submerged body coated in slick, dark mud, exuding a nauseating stench of decay. It was the odor of plant roots that had rotted underground for centuries, mingled with the foul scent of stagnant water. Unable to contain herself, Ruan Yuan turned to the side and retched. The barrage of comments in the live stream finally reacted, the preceding events transpiring too quickly and terrifyingly. What the hell was that? It looked like grassland, yet it collapsed upon stepping on it. This is more terrifying than a landmine. A landmine detonates quickly, but this is being buried alive. Is this the breathtaking scenery? I have truly fallen for your deception, old thief Luo. The squad leader rose from the ground, also caked in mud. With a grim expression, he walked over to retrieve the stick. He then plunged the stick into the very mud pit from which Ruan Yuan had fallen, probing its depths. The 1.5-meter-long stick sank effortlessly, never reaching the bottom. Withdrawing the stick, the squad leader pointed at the bubbling pit, his voice stern. Do you see? The mud beneath is deeper than that snow-capped mountain. Here, do not trust your eyes. What appears level may be hollow beneath. What seems beautiful may be a mouth that devours. He thrust the stick back into Ruan Yuan's hands, his tone slightly softened, yet still serious. The stick must not leave your grasp. With each step, probe ahead with the stick. If the stick does not sink, then you may proceed. In this place, it is not just bullets that can kill. The ground itself can be lethal. The team resumed their journey. After the harrowing experience, the atmosphere within the group had transformed entirely. If entering the area had felt like a spring outing, it now resembled a minefield clearance operation. The oppressive sensation of silent death is far more tormenting than the howling winds and blizzards atop the snowy peaks. The peril of the mountains is palpable, cold is cold, and pain is pain. Yet this meadow is different. It is suffocatingly quiet. The soft grass beneath my feet yields black water with each step, leaving one perpetually uncertain whether one is treading on solid ground or a fragile floating carpet. This fear of the unknown keeps one's spirit taut to the utmost. Change formation. Eyeball, the only one with technical prowess, willingly undertook the most hazardous task. I will lead the way. Eyeball tightened his grip on the staff, walking gently in the middle, following my footprints. Kong, you're heavy and also carrying the burden. Take the rear. All right. Kong did not feign strength. The large black pot he carried on his back had become the greatest encumbrance. On solid ground, it weighed little, but on this soft meadow, the greater the load. The greater the pressure, and the deeper the sinking. Where Eyeball and Ruan Yuan traversed, only shallow puddles remained. Yet with each step Kong took, he sank to his calves and then struggled to extricate his leg. It felt as if he were bound with two heavy sandbags to his feet, trudging through glue. With a squelching sound, the heavy effort of lifting his feet became the only soundtrack for the journey. Progress slowed to an agonizing crawl. It was not merely the terrain's torment, but also the rapid depletion of stamina. On the system panel, Kong's stamina bar was turning red at an alarming rate. Warning, excessive load detected. Stamina consumption rate at 200. Warning, core body temperature slightly decreasing. It is advised to seek a dry area to rest. A dry area? Huh. Kong glanced at the system notification and scoffed. There wasn't even a dry stone in this cursed place. Where could one find a dry spot? Finally, after laboriously advancing for half an hour, they encountered a barrier. It was a wide expanse of muck, nearly 20 meters across, with black sludge exposed, sparsely dotted with a few clumps of water plants. There was no need to investigate. It was clearly a swamp. No way to circumvent it. Eyeball examined the map. Both sides were engulfed in this terrain, and this quagmire stretched for several kilometers. What now? Ruan Yuan gazed at the dark mire, her stomach churning again. The old squad leader stood at the edge of the swamp, his brow furrowed. He surveyed the team behind him and then glanced at the pot on Kong's back. Loosen your belts, the old leader commanded. Huh. Ruan Yuan was taken aback. Remove your leg bindings, cloth strips, and belts, and tie them together. As the old leader spoke, he demonstrated, deftly unfastening his own leg bindings with one hand, fashioning a rope to secure each person's waist. This is a life chain. If one person sinks, others can pull them out. But if everyone sinks, the old leader paused, then we die together. The three did not dare to delay, quickly tying all available strips into ropes, linking themselves with their comrades. However, this did not resolve the issue of crossing the mire, especially for Kong. He bore the weight of the pot, and should he step into the mire, he would undoubtedly be the first to sink. Put the pot down, commanded the old squad leader. Use it as a vessel. Kwang Gu carefully set the large iron pot upon the soft mud. Fortunately, the pot was sufficiently large with a broad base, and it indeed floated upon the surface of the muck. Push it forward. Though it sounded simple, the execution was akin to scaling the heavens. The trio stepped into the quagmire, the sludge enveloping them up to their knees, frigid and biting. They had to contend with the suction beneath their feet, while pushing the pot laden with their entire squad's belongings. Each step drained them of their strength. 1-2 push. Kwang Gu pushed from behind, while Ing Yin and Ruan Ruan pulled from the front. The pot swayed precariously in the mire, nearly capsizing several times. Mud splattered across their bodies and faces, and most critically, there was no solid ground beneath their feet. Kwang Gu felt the muscles in his thighs cramping, a searing pain shooting through him. I can't go on, Ruan Ruan gasped, her stamina already depleted, now solely sustained by sheer willpower. I can't pull it out, truly can't. The group halted in the center of the quagmire, caught between advancing and retreating. Observing this scene, the viewers in the live stream grew frantic. Kwang Gu, don't push yourself too hard. The difficulty of this mission is clearly beyond your means. You three are supposed to take on this instance, and the burden rests solely on one person. How can you manage that? Heed your brother's advice. Call for reinforcements. That retired soldier is still on the application list. Let him join to help you carry the pot. Indeed, even pulling in a couple of random fans to lend a hand would be advantageous. The more people in this mire, the easier it will be. The barrage of comments flooded the screen, private messages bombarded his inbox. If Kwang Gu simply nodded, countless reinforcements would materialize in this instance, ready to assist in pushing the pot, scouting the path, or even carrying them. This was permitted by the game mechanics, and it was the most rational choice. Kwang Gu, caked in mud and gasping for breath, clung tightly to the edge of the pot. His retinas were bombarded with incoming requests to join the party. Player Special Forces King 007 requests to join the team. Player National Server's Strongest Man requests to join the team. With a mere click of approval, this accursed mire could instantly transform into a thoroughfare. Kwang Gu glanced at the pop-up notifications, then at Ing Yin and Ruan Ruan, who were gritting their teeth, their faces turning purple as they tugged at the ropes. He also observed the old squad leader at the forefront, using one arm to forge a path, resolutely not allowing them to assist him so as not to increase their burden. With a huff, Kwang Gu spat out a mouthful of mud-laden saliva. Get lost, he roared in the live stream, his voice hoarse yet filled with fury. This is my team, and I will lead it myself. Chapter 26. The conscience of the old thief Kwang Gu. Are you out of your mind? The comments expressed bewilderment. You don't understand a thing. Kwang Ji's hands bulged with veins as he braced against the heavy pot. This pot belongs to Old Li. This path is for the old squad leader. Randomly bringing in anyone, be it a cat or a dog. Do they comprehend the concept of a life chain? Can they entrust their lives to me? I cannot rely on them either. Kwang Gu exerted himself with all his might, the muscles in his thighs tightening to the point of cramping. We may be a bit useless, a bit weak, but we rolled down from Mount Jiajing together. I shall not cast aside this burden, nor shall I abandon my comrades. Eagle Eye, Softy, do not feign death before me. If we cannot even traverse a mud puddle, how shall we face Old Li? This fierce shout served as a potent stimulant to the hearts of those present. Although Eagle Eye remained silent, he clenched his teeth tightly, the rope in his hand taut and digging into his flesh. Softy also cried out in anguish, hanging the entirety of his body weight upon the rope. Up. With a splash, the large iron pot surged forward through the mire. 1 step, 2 steps. The 3 mud-caked miscreants relentlessly pushed the great black pot, which bore their hopes, inch by inch across the treacherous swamp like snails. The moment they crawled ashore, the trio collapsed onto the grass, utterly devoid of strength even to move a finger. The old squad leader, observing these 3 nearly exhausted yet increasingly mature recruits, slowly squatted down at the water's edge. With his lone arm, he gently patted the heaving shoulder of Brother Kwang. Rest for 2 minutes, then rise, he urged in a hoarse voice, warning them that the cold mud could steal their very souls if they lingered too long. At this juncture, in the real world, a video titled I Found the Conscience of Old Luo, the first perfect Snow Mountain completion recap on the internet, was rapidly climbing the charts at an astonishing rate of 50,000 views per minute. The creator of this video, known as Xin Yujiang, was a scenic streamer. Unlike Brother Kwang, who pursued extremes, or Eagle Eye, who was obsessed with tactics, Xin Yujiang was huddled behind a secluded pile of rocks on the snow-capped mountain, shivering in the cold. Brothers, I truly cannot run any longer, he said with a bitter smile, his voice trembling. Yet, I noticed a detail. Look at the edge of the map. There lies the ruins of a burned village. Initially, I thought it was merely a backdrop, but I discerned that the airflow model there was different. He risked hypothermia and death, circumventing 2 kilometers through the blizzard. Then, beside the frozen corpse of an enemy scout, he pried open a half-burnt wooden beam with his numbed fingers. Within the ruins, he quietly discovered a small bag of dried chili peppers and half a shriveled piece of ginger. As the video progressed, Xin Yujiang presented these items to the old squad leader. In the footage, the old leader's gaze transformed. In his previously gone eyes, a flicker of hope ignited. Utilizing the marching pot left behind by Old Li, he brewed a pot of scalding snow water. The chilies were torn asunder, and the ginger sliced into exceedingly thin pieces. To the modern eye, it was a pot of soup that seemed woefully inadequate. Yet at that moment, a golden buff icon appeared on the screen. Triggered hidden plot, divine soup. Effect. All members gain a 20-point resistance to the cold, a 30-point increase in stamina recovery, and a 40 reduction in the rate of willpower breakdown. Although Oldly ultimately sacrificed himself to protect the pot when the team crossed the pass, each member bore a hint of color upon their faces. In the closing moments of the video, Xin Yuzhong sat before the camera, his eyes swollen with tears. Previously, we derided designer Luo as a devil-donning human skin, claiming that this game left no room for survival. Yet, I was mistaken. He concealed the most compassionate elements within the most ruthless settings.